Chapter 43:12. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect it to be targeted at Lin Xian again. Moreover, it was Gu Feng who took the lead. Gu Feng retreated after announcing the news. It seemed like he didn't plan to make a move. Instead, he wanted to borrow the strength of the other holy cities to kill Lin Xian. That's right, I agree. Wang Jianyi walked out. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He represented the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. The Great Desolate Mansion, Thunder God City, and 10,000 Demon City also walked out. We have no objections. Let's work together. The surrounding people frowned. Lin Xian's strength wasn't ordinary. Even if everyone worked together, they could kill him. However, Peerless City was behind him. Sure enough, at this moment, a cold shout was heard. Who dares to move? Ling Hu Chuexue and Fu Hongye walked over with the people of Peerless City. They came to Lin Xian's side. Whoever dares to touch junior brother Lin will be an enemy of Peerless City. The peerless sacred sword swept across the sky in all directions. Everyone was shocked. Ling Hu Chuexue and the others are here? Looks like the situation has changed. Sure enough, the expressions of the people from the other holy cities changed. In the primordial grotto, Shi Qingyu sneered. Just one faction and a Saint King weapon. You dare to be arrogant in front of us? He snorted. The stone pagoda floated above their heads, releasing an extremely terrifying aura. At the same time, the underworld gourd and Thunder God's hammer appeared. Several Saint King weapons were taken out together, suppressing the peerless sacred sword. Lin Xian glanced at him. You're just a loser. How dare you be arrogant in front of me? Get over here. I don't need a Saint King weapon. I'll destroy your soul in 3 moves. Lin Xian looked at Shi Qingyu with disdain. Damn it. Shi Qingyu's face was cold. He had indeed lost to Lin Xian, but that was after thousands of moves. Lin Xian said that he could destroy his soul in 3 moves. It was obviously a slap to his face. He snorted. Kid, I admit that I lost to you before. But so what? We're competing now. No matter how strong you are, can you reverse the situation? That's impossible here. Who said we're weak? Morong Qingcheng walked over with people from Kunlun Pavilion and Jade Lake. Help was here. Everyone was shocked. Regarding Peerless City's allies, they had already seen them in the second stage. Could it be that the two sides were going to have another decisive battle now? Sure enough, another group of people walked towards them. For example, Li Hongxiu led the people from the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, and Guan Songhai led the people from the Azure Sea Pavilion. There was also the Joyous Union Palace and the Heaven Devil Race. These people all came to Lin Xian's side. For a moment, a powerful aura suppressed the entire area as it contended with the people from Acheron Hall. His strength was not weak at all. The people from the Acheron Hall had cold expressions. Shi Qingyu said coldly from the immemorial grotto. It seemed that there would be a duel soon. Since that's the case, let's do it. Terrifying light burst out from their eyes, and the surrounding people quickly retreated. The 2 sacred cities attacked. They all had saint-level weapons, which could definitely break through everything. They began to worry about the heaven and earth. Kill. The people of the Acheron Hall were the first to roar. They activated the Acheron gourd with all their might and charged over. The terrifying yellow springs surged in all directions. In an instant, it completely enveloped the entire space. Everyone was worried that the mysterious palace would shatter in an instant. However, what surprised them was that it actually withstood the terrifying aura. The area of the palace became incomparably vast, as if it had turned into an ancient battlefield again. A torrential force gushed out from the primordial chaos. Buzz. The stone pagoda also moved, and a terrifying power burst out, shattering the world. The 2 great sages' saint-level weapons attacked together. That energy made everyone feel despair. Retreat quickly. The sacred cities that did not participate in the battle all quickly retreated. They knew that they had to wait for the outcome of the battle to be decided before the others could act. Sure enough, some people retreated into the distance. Some people even left the mysterious palace to watch the battle from afar. Ling Hu Chuexue and the others roared angrily and jointly attacked with the unparalleled sacred sword. With one attack, the unparalleled sacred city turned into a sword chi that rampaged between heaven and earth. Countless voids were trembling non-stop. The unparalleled sacred sword was incomparably powerful, but against the two great sages' saint-level weapons, it was instantly suppressed. However, at this moment, Lin Xian also took out the spear of great destruction. Everyone once again attacked together. With a boom, monstrous demonic qi surged and swept in all directions. The laws clashed in the sky fell and the earth cracked. The surrounding people retreated one after another. Not good, quickly use your full strength. Some people roared. On the demon city's side, they took out a black heavy sword called the Firmament Sword. When the sword slashed out, it was as if the heavens were pressing down. And the terrifying power was even more shocking. Kunlun Mountain. Morong Qingqing and the others attacked Kunlun Mountain to block it. At the same time, Thunder God City, Great Desolation Mansion, and Demon City also attacked together. On Lin Xian's side, Acacia Palace, Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion, and Deep Sea Palace also counterattacked. A great battle broke out in an instant, and it was incomparable. Buzz! The unparalleled sacred sword turned into a piercingly cold divine sword and slashed down. This attack could split a world in an instant. The two sides were evenly matched in the battle. However, there was a change in the situation at this moment. A group of people suddenly attacked. In the void, an ancient mirror appeared. It unleashed a frightening amount of space power and shot towards Lin Xian and the others. Not good, Fu Hongya and the others felt the impact. This sudden attack made them feel even more pressured. Lin Xian summoned the Great Sage Tower to block it. With a boom, his arm was also numb from the impact, and many people vomited blood. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with incomparable killing intent. Damn it, it's Gu Feng. That's right, Gu Feng and the experts of the Gu family also took out a Sage King weapon, which was a void mirror. This was a replica of an extreme-grade weapon that had reached the level of a Sage King weapon. When it was used, it was extremely terrifying. Kid, you dare to kill so many experts of my Acheron Hall. Today will be the day you die. The people of Acheron Hall gritted their teeth. The people of Great Desolation Mansion and Demon City also looked cold. They must capture the other party and let him know what despair was. A terrifying aura erupted once again. Lin Xian and the others' faces were extremely ugly. The addition of the Gu family had caused them to be in a passive position. This was because they had to defend against spatial attacks at any time. Lin Xian shouted, and Morong Qingqing led the people of Kunlun Pavilion and charged forward. Trying to escape? Thunder rumbled between heaven and earth. Thousands of lightning bolts fell and struck Kunlun Mountain, causing it to shake non-stop. Morong Qingqing and the others were blocked, and their faces became extremely pale. The people of Demon City sneered. They used the Thor's hammer, and a cold voice sounded. Chapter 43:13. Don't you think it's ridiculous that you want to escape at this stage? The people from the Great Desolate Mansion sneered. This time, they had finally joined forces with great difficulty. With so many Saint King weapons, they had unleashed all of them in order to completely get rid of these people. You think you can do that? You don't have the right to say that. Lin Xian snorted and quickly used the Great Destruction Spear with the people from the Sky Fiend race. Terrifying demonic aura burst out and shattered the world. It was as if the gods and ghosts were crying. This method was too terrifying. The faces of the people on the other side changed. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to increase the combat strength of his side. Damn it, let's attack together. The people on the other side roared crazily, and there was another terrifying roar. This time, both sides kept retreating and their faces were pale. Some of them even vomited blood. Although they were top geniuses and experts, they were using the Sage King weapons after all. The power contained in the weapons was far beyond theirs. Even if they could only use a portion of the power, it wasn't something their physiques could withstand. Therefore, they were all injured. At this moment, Lin Xian roared and took out 2 storage rings. Countless spiritual fruits flew out from the rings. They were the ones he had collected previously. He took out a portion of them and turned them into energy. It surged into the great dragon sword soul, and he slashed out with his sword. These spiritual fruits were very old. They were at least 10,000 years old. Moreover, there were so many of them that it was absolutely shocking. Therefore, the great dragon sword soul roared and quickly recovered. Its power was no weaker than the Sage King weapons. Not good. Seeing this, Gu Feng's pupils shrank and he didn't attack. He knew that this was the Great Dragon Sword Soul, an offensive sage technique. Therefore he quickly took his people and left using the space mystique. The others felt their scalps go numb. They roared crazily. However, the sword still split everything apart. The power of the Sage King weapons was torn apart. Then Lin Xian rushed out with his people. They rushed out of the encirclement and rushed towards one of the statues. Damn it, this guy still has a trump card. When the people from the primordial grotto saw this, their faces became extremely cold. Kill him. These people roared crazily. They could also tell that the other party had used a large amount of power to unleash his trump card. It was impossible for him to use such a method multiple times. He might not even be able to use it a second time. They all activated their bloodline power and activated their Saint Spirit bloodline, illuminating the world. The stone pagoda emitted a terrifying radiance as it continued to enlarge. Several peerless sword lights flew out from inside. The people around him kept vomiting blood. Murong Qingqing roared and a pagoda appeared in her hand. This was a replica of the desolate tower. At this moment, when he took it out, its power was equally terrifying. He blocked the other party's stone pagoda. Then the jade pool gushed out and covered the surroundings, healing the injuries of these people. Let's go. Li Hongxiu from the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion was holding a huge fan. She attacked and several of them were sent flying. Some of the late-stage holy venerates were instantly killed. The two sides fought again, but Lin Xian and the others fought as they retreated, retreating towards the statue. Soon, Lin Xian arrived beside the stone statue. Formation of Destruction. Lin Xian used a powerful formation that he had obtained previously. It was a formation that used formations to break formations. When he used it, it was truly terrifying. At the same time, they poured the power of their saint artifacts into the formation of destruction. The formation rotated rapidly and broke the statue. Then these people were enveloped by a force. Damn it, we can't let them in. When the surrounding people saw this scene, their expressions changed. They did not expect Lin Xian to have such a method to break the statue. These people moved out one after another, but they were still a step too late. When countless Saint King level powers descended, Lin Xian and the others had already disappeared. Damn it! The people from the primordial grotto roared crazily. Damn it, let's attack the other stone statues. The surrounding people also turned their gazes to their surroundings. Among them, the people from the primordial grotto and the Acheron Hall joined forces and stared at one of the stone statues. The Saint King level weapons in their hands exploded. However, the power of their attacks was reflected back at them, causing them to vomit blood non-stop. What was going on? The expressions of the surrounding people changed. Were the Saint King level weapons not enough? These people joined forces again. This time, there were 5 Saint King level weapons. They did not believe that they could not break through. However, the impact these people received this time was even more intense. Damn it! These people's eyes were red. Gu Feng's expression was cold. He said, "Don't waste your energy. That kid didn't break it with brute force. He used a formation to break the formation. We have to find the key to breaking it. Otherwise, no matter how strong their power was, it would be useless in front of this mysterious stone statue." These people's expressions were extremely cold. At this moment, Chao Tianqing walked out and looked at the few figures among them. He said, "Help me and I'll bring you in." Those people were stunned. Did Chao Tianqing have this ability? So many Saint King level weapons couldn't do it, so they were puzzled. However, the people from the 7-star tower stood out and said, "We believe in you." They would help the Limitless sect. The others watched coldly. However, what shocked them was that Chao Tianqing actually formed countless mysterious runes and broke the statue. Then the group of people was also enveloped by a terrifying power and disappeared. How was this possible? Where did this Chao Tianqing come from? These people were all crazy. Gu Feng's expression became even more ugly. Damn it, he didn't expect another difficult opponent to appear after Lin Xian. It wasn't that he hadn't seen Chao Tianfeng before. He also knew that the other party was powerful, but so what? After all, he was from a great emperor family. No matter how powerful the other party was, he couldn't be heaven-defying. However, He didn't expect that he had underestimated the other party. The other party was actually able to break the formation, but he couldn't do anything at the moment. There were a total of 4 statues. At this moment, 2 of them were broken. There were only 2 left. These 2 they had to go in. Therefore, these people joined forces and prepared to study them. The eyes of the others also flickered. Not long after, more people came into the mysterious palace. This time, there were also many people who came. After they came in, they understood the previous situation. Immediately, some of their faces darkened. Among them, there were people from the 3 dragons. There was also a figure who looked like a fairy from the 9 heavens. It was Shen Jingqiu. She wasn't with Morong Qingqing previously, so she didn't meet her in the previous battle. Now that she came and heard the news, her face instantly became incomparably cold. Chapter 43:14. Shen Jingqiu was very angry, but she did not immediately attack these people. Instead, she looked at 2 of the stone statues. The next moment, her eyes flickered. The mysterious woman in her mind transmitted a message to her. There was a way to enter. Shen Jingqiu nodded and then said to the 3 dragons, "Help me and I'll bring you in." If it were anyone else, the 3 Dragon Balls might not agree, but since it was Shen Jingqiu, they agreed. The next moment, these people walked towards one of the statues. The surrounding people were stunned. What was going on? Could it be that these people wanted to crack it? What a joke! Although this Shen Jingqiu was also a genius, she was not outstanding among so many geniuses. How could the other party crack it? Gu Feng's face was also gloomy. He wanted to see if the other party was bluffing. After a while, suddenly, everyone was stunned. They discovered that the statue in front of them had cracks and then shattered. How was this possible? These people's eyes were about to pop out. Shen Jingqiu could crack it too. They were all crazy. What was going on? Why was it that they could not crack it even when they used all their strength, but the other party could? Did he crack it? The members of the 3 dragon clans were also shocked. Because from the looks of the remaining people, they could tell that it would be very difficult to crack it. However, they did not expect that Shen Jingqiu would succeed. At this moment, a mysterious power enveloped them, and Gu Feng's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already beside Shen Jingqiu and the others. It seemed that he was going to use his spatial ability to follow them in. Damn it! Meng Qing and the others shouted angrily and attacked Gu Feng with their Dragon Balls. Then, Gu Feng tore open a spatial tear and transferred all this energy to another space. Great! The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. This time, he could finally enter. However, at this moment, Shen Jingqiu snorted and suddenly turned around. The cosmic form behind him shot out a card. Gu Feng was originally disdainful. With his spatial divine ability, if it wasn't the great dragon sword soul, he wouldn't be afraid. However, in the next moment, his pupils abruptly contracted. The reason for that was because he sensed an extremely terrifying power. It was enough to threaten him. Therefore, he could only dodge and leave this space. In the next moment, the place where he stood completely shattered. Shen Jingqiu and the others had already disappeared. What was going on? Had Gu Feng been forced back? How was this possible? The surrounding people were shocked once again. The people from the Gu clan were also shocked. Gu Feng's expression was extremely gloomy. Damn it! What kind of absolute art does this woman have? Why is it so mysterious? There was only one statue left. It seemed to be their last hope. These people were prepared to fight back with all their might. On the other side, Lin Xian and the others felt the space around them spinning. When the energy disappeared, they hurriedly defended themselves. However, when they discovered that there was no danger around them, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Look, what's that? Someone cried out in alarm. They looked ahead. Further ahead, there was an even more terrifying statue. It stood there like a god of war. The aura it emitted contained a desolate power. It made people want to kneel down and worship it. It was so terrifying. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. What was this place? Look, there were words on the ground. Someone cried out in alarm again. Lin Xian and the others looked over, and saw that it was written on the ground. The ancient trial ground. Lin Xian was too shocked. He didn't expect that there would be a trial ground in this battlefield. It was too unbelievable. Ling Huchueshua frowned slightly. He said that it was possible. Before the ancient battlefield, there was a super sect. However, it was destroyed in the ancient battle, leaving behind this palace. Perhaps this was what the disciples of that sect used to train. This explanation was reasonable. Therefore, everyone nodded. Since that was the case, they should take a look at what this trial ground was. Everyone took a deep breath and prepared to walk forward. That huge statue held a huge sword in its left hand and a treasure bottle in its right hand. At this moment, as everyone walked forward, the treasure bottle in its right hand slowly descended, as if it was going to suck everyone in. It was obvious that the trial ground was inside. Go. Everyone's eyes lit up. Since they were already here, how could they not go in? Therefore, they all moved and entered the treasure bottle. Lin Xian naturally went in as well. In the next moment, he felt that the people around him had disappeared. It was obvious that this was an individual trial. Only he could complete it. He appeared in a mountain range. His surroundings were quiet. There was nothing. Lin Xian didn't know what the trial ground was, so he was always prepared. However, in the next moment, his pupils shrank because he saw another figure appear in front of him. He was very familiar with that figure. It was himself. That figure's eyes were also filled with confidence. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile, as if he was looking down on the world. Lin Xian frowned. Could it be that the trial ground was to fight with himself? He was really surprised. That was because he had encountered countless opponents along the way. There were even successors of great emperors. They were natural enemies. However, he had already come all the way here. However, a person's greatest enemy was himself. Therefore, Lin Xian really didn't know if a person could defeat him. Thinking of this, a light appeared in his eyes. It was really an interesting trial. In the next moment, he turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed out. He used the man ruler seal and slapped it forward. Let's see how this trial is going to turn out. The figure opposite him also used the man ruler seal. The two attacks collided and immediately let out an earth-shaking sound. Lin Xian was forced back. He felt his arm go numb. That attack was really powerful. He felt as if he had collided with a mountain. Was that the power of the nine-yang divine body and the man ruler seal? It was too terrifying. It was the first time he had felt it. As for the figure on the other side, he also retreated. It seemed that he had received the same impact as him. Interesting. It was exactly the same as him. It was really unbelievable. Lin Xian had used the dream leaf in a battle like this before. However, the opponents he had created back then were all imaginary opponents. Moreover, he didn't make himself an opponent. Therefore, it was the first time he had seen such a scene. In the next moment, he attacked again. This time, it was the 10 ultimate sword formation. The terrifying 10 ultimate laws spread between heaven and earth. The terrifying sword chi was about to destroy everything. A formation also appeared under his opponent's feet. It was the 10 ultimate sword formation. The two of them fought again. This battle was earth-shattering. After thousands of moves, the two of them were evenly matched. Lin Xian was too shocked. His opponent knew the man ruler seal, 9 yang divine body, 10 ultimate sword formation, tiger demon fist, and even the heavenly secret divine eyes. Chapter 43:15. Not only Lin Xian, but the others also encountered such opponents, so they began to fight. Defeating oneself was undoubtedly the most difficult. Therefore, after an unknown amount of time, these people did not succeed. However, it was not that they did not gain anything. Everyone made a breakthrough in their battle with themselves, and even the use of laws and combat skills became more powerful. These people's strength had improved. Lin Xian's side was the same. His strength had also improved. However, this was not enough. What he wanted was to defeat his opponent. Lin Xian did not use the Great Dragon Sword Soul. He did not know if his opponent could use the same aura. However, even if he could not, he did not intend to use such a powerful force. It would not have any effect. He wanted to use his own strength. In fact, Lin Xian did not use the Great Destruction Spear. Just like that, he attacked again. Lin Xian fought with himself millions of times. Finally, in this battle, he broke through his limit. He injured his opponent with a sword. The Taoist retreated. A crack appeared on his body, and blood flowed out. Lin Xian's face was pale, but his eyes burst out with a biting cold light. Great, I finally reached this step. He had been waiting for a long time for this moment. In the next moment he attacked again. Although the figure was injured, his strength was not bad at all. In fact, his wounds were quickly cracking. Lin Xian was already able to injure his opponent. Next he fought more and more bravely. Finally, that person was completely shattered. Lin Xian roared to the sky. He finally did it. He broke through himself, surpassed his limit, and reached an unbelievable level. As for the shattered figure, it turned into countless strands of power that enveloped Lin Xian. Boom! In front of the huge god of war statue, figures were teleported out one after another. Obviously, the trial was over. As soon as these people came out, they discussed with each other and found that they were all fighting with themselves. This kind of battle was too difficult, and most of them did not succeed. However, their strength had improved, which made them very happy. Morong Qingqing came out, as did Ling Hu Chuexue, Fu Hongye and the others. However, Lin Xian hadn't come out yet, which surprised everyone. What's wrong with junior brother Lin? They were worried, and so was Morong Qingqing. In the end, they discovered that Lin Xian had walked out. The moment they came out, they felt that Lin Xian was different. Had there been a change in his cultivation? They checked carefully and found that Lin Xian was still a saint master, but he had a special aura. It made them feel that the Lin Xian at this moment was like a completely different person compared to when he had first entered. Older brother Xian, did you succeed? Morong Qingqing walked over and asked. Lin Xian smiled and nodded. The others sucked in a breath of cold air. The other party had succeeded. It was too inconceivable. The other party had defeated him, surpassing his limits. Even Ling Hu and the others were shocked, because this had nothing to do with their cultivation level. This was a breakthrough on their own. They couldn't do it, but Lin Xian did it. At this moment, the huge statue shone brightly, and a force wrapped around them, as if it was going to teleport them out. Indeed, not long after, they found themselves back in the main hall. At this moment, there was no one around the main hall. Lin Xian's eyes flickered, and he found that the surrounding statues were all broken. He wondered which of the other three had entered. However, at this moment, an insect came in front of Lin Xian and released a soul wave. Lin Xian instantly heard a message. This message was given to him by the nine-headed Qilin. It turned out that the nine-headed Qilin and the others didn't enter the last statue. The last statue was entered by a mysterious person. They knew that they had no chance, so they left. They went outside to find the Sage King's will. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. The second and third statues were entered by Chao Tianxing and Xin Jingqiu. The fourth statue was of a mysterious person. The nine-headed Qilin didn't recognize him, and this surprised him. Who could it be? Forget it. Shaking his head, he didn't want to think too much about it and prepared to leave. Calculating the time, it was about time. It wouldn't take long for the third stage to end. Therefore, it was better to find as much Sage King's will as possible. Hearing this, the others walked out one after another, preparing to use the remaining time to search for Sage King's will. At the same time, two rays of light flashed across the ancient battlefield. They were Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian. The two of them didn't enter the mysterious valley previously. They were delayed as they were searching for the Sage King's will. At this moment, the two of them were escaping. They had obtained the Sage King's will previously, but they were discovered and hunted down. At this moment, the one chasing after them was none other than Shi Qingyu, who came out of the mysterious palace. Shi Qingyu didn't get any benefits previously, and was even mocked by Lin Xian, which made him furious. Now that he saw the people from Peerless City, he naturally wanted to take revenge. If he could capture the two of them, he would like to see how Lin Xian and the others would react. Therefore, Shi Qingyu quickly attacked. Don't run. The two of you won't be able to escape. Shi Qingyu laughed coldly from behind. At the front, Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian's faces turned ugly. To be honest, Shi Qingyu and Guan Xiaoxian's cultivation was strong. However, if the two of them were to join forces, they might be able to fight against them. However, they didn't dare to fight at all, because Shi Qingyu had a Sage King level weapon in his hand. It had completely surpassed their defense, and they couldn't defend against it at all. As expected, Shi Qingyu unleashed the stone pagoda, firing a ray of light toward Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian. Lu Yuan roared furiously, Iron Horse Glacier. Endless ice formed a demonic beast, defending between the heavens and earth. On the other side, Guan Xiaoxian also knew how to use her painting scroll. She unleashed a mysterious painting of mountains and rivers, defending between the heavens and earth. However, their skills were shattered in an instant, and the two of them were sent flying while vomiting blood. There was nothing they could do. The Sage King level weapon was too powerful. They couldn't defend against it at all. What should they do? Guan Xiaoxian's face turned ugly. As for Lu Yuan, he waved his hand and took out a Sage King's will. This was the only way. He used his strength to throw the Sage King's will in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, they quickly flew away, as if they were trying to lure the other party away. Sage King's will. Seeing this, Shi Qingyu was startled. Then a smile appeared on his face. He quickly chased after the Sage King's will. Seeing this, Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian both let out a sigh of relief. Great! It seemed like they were safe now. However, at the next moment, their expressions changed. The surrounding land and mountains were constantly changing, emitting countless laws, forming a huge barrier. Chapter 43:16. Damn it! The two of them looked terrible. They did not expect the other party to not let them go. Since this was the case, a cold glint appeared in Lu Yuan's eyes. He waved his hand and the seal on the Sage King's will cracked open. Boom! The Sage King's will shone brightly and a terrifying aura swept out in all directions. Shi Qingyu's face changed, and he used the stone pagoda to defend himself. The stone pagoda was pushed back and the energy swept out in all directions, attracting the attention of countless people. Many people raised their heads and looked into the distance. What's that aura? It's the Sage King's aura. Let's go and take a look. One figure after another flew over. At this moment, Lin Xian also sensed it. At this moment, his figure flashed and he also rushed over. There was no one around him this time. After they came out, they tried their best to find the Sage King's will. Therefore, Lin Xian acted alone this time. He sensed the Sage King's will in front of him, and his eyes lit up. He turned into a ray of light and rushed over. At the same time, many people went over. When they came close, they were stunned. They saw the people from Wuxia City and Primordial Grotto. There was also a Sage King's weapon. These people were stunned and did not dare to rush over. They could not defeat the Sage King's weapon. Shi Qingyu's face turned cold. Kid, you dare to attack me? You're going to die. He looked at Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. The two of them were pale. They could not leave even with this? Were they really going to die here today? When the others saw this, they were shocked. It seemed that the two geniuses from Wuxia City were in for it. Yes, Shi Qingyu was originally an expert in the later stages, and he was very strong. Not to mention that he had a Sage King's weapon. No one could stop him. Everyone knew that Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian were going to die. Shi Qingyu walked over with the stone pagoda. His killing intent spread out quickly. At this moment, a cold voice resounded between heaven and earth. You dare to attack the people from Wuxia City. Do you really think that I won't kill you? When this voice came out, everyone was stunned. Who was it? He actually dared to challenge Shi Qingyu. Was he tired of living? Shi Qingyu also stopped in his tracks, his eyes bursting with a shocking light. Who is it? Get over here, and accept your death. What a joke, who would dare to challenge him now? In the next moment, everyone saw a figure appear in the sky and descend directly. His body was covered in light, and he appeared in front of everyone like a sun war god. It was this kid. Everyone was stunned. Even Lu Yuan and Guan Xiaoxian's pupils shrank. Lin Xian. They said, Junior brother Lin, leave quickly. This guy has a Saint King weapon. Previously, they had been searching for the Sage King's will. Therefore, they did not know about the previous battle. He did not know that Lin Xian also had a Saint King weapon. They were very worried at the moment. Lin Xian turned around and looked at the two of them. He took out some spirit fruits and handed them to them. Then he said, Don't worry, it's just a defeated opponent. There's nothing to worry about. When these words came out, Lu Yuan and Lu Yuan were both stunned. A defeated opponent. Could it be that Shi Qingyu was defeated by Lin Xian? This was really too unbelievable. In front of them, Shi Qingyu's expression also became very ugly. Extremely terrifying killing intent burst out from his eyes. So it's you. He looked around and realized that Lin Xian was the only one who came. Immediately, a sinister smile appeared on his face. You really don't know what's good for you. How dare you come alone? Since that's the case, you can die. He was really too happy. This was a good opportunity for him. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. I've said it before. You're a defeated opponent. Without a Saint King weapon, I can kill you in 3 moves. When these words came out, the surrounding people were all stunned. Although they knew that Lin Xian had defeated Shi Qingyu, that was 1,000 moves. It was simply impossible to defeat the opponent in 3 moves. Sure enough, Shi Qingyu's expression was also cold. Fine, I want to see how you can defeat me. He was really angry. However, Lin Xian sneered. I was wrong. Previously it was 3 moves. Now I can defeat you in 1 move. That was indeed the case. Now he challenged himself again and surpassed his limit. His strength increased again. Therefore, Shi Qingyu was no match for him now. Despicable brat, don't be so arrogant. Shi Qingyu shouted angrily and charged over. At this moment, countless mysterious runes appeared on his arms. He activated his bloodline power, because he knew how powerful his opponent was. Moreover, he wanted to use his full strength to kill his opponent. Therefore, he did not hold back at all in this attack. A fearsome bloodline power surfaced, turning his hands into incomparably powerful war hammers. An extremely terrifying power surged out, as if 2 mountains were descending from the sky. This terrifying power caused the expressions of the surrounding people to change. Even a late-stage holy venerate could not block this attack. It seemed that Shi Qingyu was really angry. Not good. Facing such a terrifying attack, Guan Shaoxian and the others cried out in alarm. However, Lin Xian did not care at all. He still had a smile on his face. When the 2 palms arrived in front of him, he made his move. He formed hand seals with his palms. A terrifying aura filled the air. The man-ruler seal smashed forward with a will that looked down on the world and looked down on the world. At this moment, it was as if he had turned into a supreme god. Kill! With a furious shout, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The man-ruler seal was sent out and collided with the opponent's palms. A destructive power swept out in all directions. Retreat quickly. The surrounding people kept retreating. Lu Yuan and Guan Shaoxian also quickly retreated into the distance. This power was too strong. They did not expect Lin Xian to be able to unleash such a terrifying power. It seemed that Lin Xian's strength had increased greatly during this period of time. It had far exceeded their imagination. After the attack, cracks appeared on the 2 terrifying palms in the sky. Then they exploded and a figure retreated. The surrounding people were stunned. They realized that the person who retreated was Shi Qingyu. How could this be? Countless people cried out in alarm. Did Lin Xian really defeat Shi Qingyu in 1 go? Their minds went blank. They originally thought that it was just an arrogant statement. Who would have thought that he really did it? Lu Yuan and Guan Shaoxian were also shocked. They could not believe this strength. Shi Qingyu's face turned pale. There was a hint of despair in his eyes. How could this be? Although he was defeated, it was only by a small margin. Chapter 43:17. The man said, "Don't worry, he will definitely die today." The man took a step forward and slashed down with his saber. Heaven and earth were split apart. Lin Xian sneered and used the Great Destruction Spear to block the attack. Heaven and earth trembled, but they could not break the Great Destruction Spear. Seeing this, the man's face turned ugly. He waved his saber continuously. Lin Xian blocked all of his attacks. At the same time, Lin Xian used the Tai Chi diagram, and it spun between heaven and earth. Yin and yang energy fell, and a terrifying light burned everything. The terrifying death law took away the vitality of these people. This was the most terrifying thing. These people retreated frantically. Some of their vitality was taken away. The man's pupils shrank. Although he looked young, to be honest, he had lived for more than 6,000 years. If his vitality was taken away, it would be difficult for him to recover. Therefore, he circled the desolate saber around his body and shot out countless saber lights to block the death law. You dare to fight me with such strength? You must be tired of living. Lin Xian sneered, infuriating the middle-aged man. Damn it, how dare you be so reckless? He turned to Shi Qingyu and said, let's work together. Shi Qingyu nodded and walked over. The stone pagoda above her head shone brightly. The two great sage human kings' weapons exploded together. The power was extremely strong. At this moment, everyone was stunned. It's over. Lin Xian is really in danger this time. He was facing two great sage human kings' weapons alone. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to withstand it. Lu Yuan and Guan Shaoxian wore unpleasant looks on their faces. The advantage that he had gained was probably gone now. Facing such a dangerous situation, Lin Xian smiled. His black hair danced wildly like a peerless god of war. Do you think you can kill me with just the two of you? You're too naive. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. At this moment, Lin Xian was extremely strong. The power in his body kept exploding. He stared at Shi Qingyu and said coldly, I've already spared you twice, but you still don't know what's good for you. Do you really think I can hold back because you're from the primordial grotto? With that, Lin Xian charged over. The spear of destruction pressed forward, shattering everything in its path. Shi Qingyu's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the other party's target to be him. Damn it! Attack! With a roar, the stone pagoda above Zhang Xian's head descended once more. 10,000 strands of aura bombarded the stone pagoda relentlessly. On the other side, the old man also unleashed a terrifying saber light. Lin Xian kept dodging, using the void escape technique to appear and disappear unpredictably, dodging these attacks. His target this time was Shi Qingyu. He wanted to get rid of one of them first. Terrifying devil chi, incomparable, rushed toward Shi Qingyu. Even the power of the desolate blade was destroyed by Lin Xian's stellar transposition. In an instant, a great battle broke out. It was extremely terrifying. Damn it, how dare you underestimate me? Shi Qingyu roared angrily, quickly unleashing an even more terrifying attack. At the same time, the desolate blade unleashed its power. It was extremely sharp and slashed around Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face turned pale from the impact. He even bled. However, he didn't care. His eyes became even colder. He continued to attack his opponent. At this moment, Lin Xian used all his strength. He was extremely powerful. The great spear of destruction emitted the roars of dragons and tigers. The power of the great dragon sword soul also erupted. This attack blasted everything apart. He was sent flying. Shi Qingyu also vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The surrounding people couldn't believe it. Lin Xian also vomited a mouthful of blood. Facing two great sage human king weapons alone was a heavy burden for him. However, the light in his eyes shone even more brightly. Now a dragon-shaped sword aura flew out and once again cut Shi Qingyu's broken body into a bloody mist. Roar! Shi Qingyu roared crazily. Save me. He summoned the stone pagoda to defend himself. On the other hand, he was asking for help from the Great Desolate Mansion. The Great Desolate Mansion's man once again used the Desolate Blade to defend himself. However, it was too late. 10 types of laws erupted from the blade. The most terrifying thing was the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul that destroyed everything. As for the law of death, it completely absorbed the remaining life force. In this way, Shi Qingyu's vitality was completely gone. His soul was also destroyed. In the end, it turned into a bloody mist and ceased to exist. Is he dead? The surrounding people were all stunned. They couldn't believe it. Oh my god, Shi Qingyu had a Sage King weapon. How powerful was he? Even if he couldn't defeat Lin Xian, he would have no problem staying alive. However, he was completely destroyed by Lin Xian. Everyone couldn't believe it. The middle-aged man from the Great Desolation Mansion also narrowed his eyes, and his face turned ugly. To be honest, the reason why he dared to attack was because of the Sage King weapon in his hand. However, he realized that the Sage King weapon couldn't save his life. This made him fearful and fearful. He led the people from the Great Desolate Mansion and quickly escaped. Lin Xian chased after them. Where could they escape to? He continuously used the power of destruction, causing the people in front of him to tremble. Some of them even spat out blood. However, the man didn't dare to fight back anymore. During this time, He encountered the people from the Acheron Hall, and was ready to fight back. In the end, 2 people from the Acheron Hall were killed and 3 people from the Great Desolate Mansion were killed. This time they didn't dare to attack again. Next, they encountered the Myriad Sword Pavilion. Similarly, they were killed by Lin Xian and instantly collapsed. This time, there weren't many people who came in. As a result, their losses were even more severe. Along the way, Lin Xian shook the world wherever he passed. In the end, everyone knew that Lin Xian was chasing after those people. The battle ahead alerted Fu Hongye and the others. They followed Lin Xian. When they found out that it was Lin Xian, they were shocked. What was going on? When they asked, they found out that Lin Xian had done something so heaven-defying. He single-handedly defeated those experts from the sacred city, and they didn't dare to fight back. In fact, many of them died. Their expressions became strange. Lin Xian was defying the heavens. They wondered how the sage kings outside would react when they found out about this. Following this, the entire ancient battlefield became even more confusing. Moreover, there was a force that was spreading. Everyone knew that perhaps the time to leave was very close. As expected, a vortex appeared in the sky and slowly appeared. It seemed that the time had come. This made everyone sigh. Although the ancient battlefield was extremely dangerous and there was a high chance of death, the benefits were also great. Not only did they have the king's heart, but they also had various treasures. They really hoped that they could stay for a while longer. Lin Xian looked at this scene and took a deep breath. Chapter 43:18. An ant will always be an ant. Do you think you can turn the tables in my hands? Lin Xian's cold voice rang out. Shi Qingyu, on the other hand, roared. With a roar of rage, his body recovered, and at the same time he madly swallowed medicinal pills. In the next moment, he charged over with the stone pagoda. Brat, I'm going to destroy your soul. His bloodline power burst forth once more. Clearly, Shi Qingyu was going all out. Furthermore, the stone pagoda above his head was emitting an extremely terrifying radiance. A destructive aura once again spread out in all directions. The surrounding people also spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their expressions changed. Not good, retreat quickly, this guy is going crazy again. Sure enough, when the attack landed, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Lu Yuan and Shangguan Shaoxian exclaimed in astonishment. Junior brother Lin, hurry up and leave. Although Lin Xian could defeat his opponent in one move, it was still incomparable to the Saint King's weapon. There were no advertisements. In the face of such destructive energy, Lin Xian was like a small boat in the middle of a vast ocean that could be swallowed up at any moment. However, he was still not afraid. Because so what if it was a human king's weapon? He had the same thing. He took out great destruction, and a monstrous demonic aura bloomed in all directions, blocking the terrifying power. Do you think that by taking out a Saint King's weapon, you can turn the tables? He was too naive. I will let you know that even in a battle of weapons, you are still not my match. At this moment, Lin Xian was extremely domineering. The surrounding people also exclaimed in surprise. It was another Saint King's weapon. Even Lu Yuan and Shangguan Shaoxian were stunned. They did not expect Lin Xian to also have a Saint King grade weapon. Sure enough, in the next moment, the two sides started fighting again. At this moment, everyone retreated far away. The reason for that was because the power this time was many times stronger than before. It was far from something that they could withstand. It was just a little bit of energy, and they couldn't block it. However, in the end, they discovered that even with the Saint King's weapon, Shi Qingyu was still beaten to the point of vomiting blood. His body had been blasted apart. In the end, he tore open the void with the stone pagoda and quickly fled. Don't you think it's too late to leave? Lin Xian performed the 10 ultimate sword formation, and a terrifying sword aura blocked everything. Get lost! Shi Qingyu roared in anger, and at the same time he attacked the sword aura. The sword aura was destroyed. However, he was also blocked. It was at this moment that Lin Xian charged over with great devastation. Not only that, he also Lin Xian's weapon. Lin's attack was constantly emitting a bright light's radiance. The Saint King's weapon, Lin Saint King as Shi Qingyu's face immediately turned pale. This was because the law of death could take away his life force. He's Lin's out of his life death. Lin Xian frowned. He had to admit that the stone pagoda was an extremely terrifying weapon of a Saint King. He was Saint Xian out of the way if possible. He really wanted to kill the other party. However, at this moment, an icy aura also appeared in the sky. Xian's Lin, it's actually you. The few figures that appeared were from the Great Desolation Mansion. As soon as they appeared, they let out a roar and charged over. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Are they courting death? Lin waved his Saint King's sword and charged at them. Boom. Lin Xian's Saint King's attack shattered the two figures. The surrounding people also vomited blood. Lin Xian's Saint King was too strong, and they couldn't withstand it. The others were shocked. What's going on? Are the people from the Great Desolate Mansion stupid? Why do they dare to attack directly? Do they think they can withstand the attack of a Saint King's weapon? However, they understood in the next moment. They were trying to attract Lin Xian's attention. That was because when Lin Xian made his move, two figures appeared behind him. They were emitting a terrifying killing intent. Their attacks were aimed at Lin Xian's vital points. One of the sword auras was extremely powerful. Even if it wasn't a Saint King's weapon, it wasn't far from it. This was the real deal. Lin Xian's pupil shrank. Are they from the mortal realm again? These people are still not giving up. How did these Saint Slayers get in? He was very confused. Every time he fought with the people from the Acheron Palace and the Great Desolate Mansion, there would always be people from the mortal realm. He suspected that there might be some connection between the two parties. However, he didn't have time to think about it now. The two killing swords instantly shrouded him. Lin Xian roared and used the void escape, disappearing instantly. At the same time, the stellar transposition caused their attacks to collide. The two swords deviated from their original directions. Lin Xian, on the other hand, charged out. The human ruler's seal hit one of them, while the other used the Tai Chi diagram. The law of death instantly made that person roar crazily. Obviously, that person's vitality was greatly depleted. The other person collided with the human ruler's seal, causing an earth-shattering force. Then he was sent flying. Seeing that their attack failed, the two of them immediately hid in the void and tried to leave. The faces of the people from the Great Desolate Mansion turned ugly. They didn't even succeed? This was unbelievable. Could it be that they still couldn't kill this kid? Lin Xian's eyes emitted a terrifying radiance. A pair of heavenly secret god eyes bloomed between heaven and earth. Trying to escape? With a roar, a golden radiance shrouded the surroundings. Soon he locked onto a figure. The 10 extinction sword slashed out and instantly split the other party into two. Blood flowed out and the energy of death exploded, turning the other party into bones. The walking soul was destroyed. At this moment, the other person fled into the distance. It seemed like he was going to escape. Lin Xian formed a seal with his palms. The gaze of the heavenly god in the sky became even more terrifying. No one could escape from this pair of eyes. As expected, the soul consciousness floated down and ignited the soul of that person. That person roared in pain in the sky. In the end, his soul was destroyed. Damn it. The people from the Great Desolate Mansion roared. Lin Xian sneered. What? You can't hold it in anymore? Don't worry. I'll let you know what despair is. Having said that, Lin Xian unleashed the soul consciousness once again and attacked the surrounding people. In an instant, the souls of two people from the Great Desolate Mansion were destroyed and they fell from the sky. The surrounding people were frightened. The people from the Great Desolate Mansion roared. You're courting death. They were really angry. They charged towards Lin Xian. But soon, they were sent flying by the 10 extinction swords. Even though these people were all powerful sages, they were nothing in front of Lin Xian at this moment. They might not even be able to block a single attack from Lin Xian. Retreat quickly. The surrounding people retreated frantically. At the same time, a middle-aged man appeared in the sky. His expression was cold as he looked at the surroundings with disdain. A desolate saber appeared in his hand. The aura on it was extremely terrifying. Obviously, it was a Sage King weapon. Seeing this, the people from the Great Desolation Mansion stopped what they were doing. Elder, kill him. Chapter 43:19. The middle-aged man said. Don't worry, he will definitely die today. The middle-aged man took a step forward and slashed down with his saber. Heaven and earth were split apart. Lin Xian sneered and used the Great Destruction Spear to block the attack. Heaven and earth trembled, but they could not break the Great Destruction Spear. Seeing this, the middle-aged man's face turned ugly. He waved his saber continuously. Lin Xian blocked all his attacks. At the same time, Lin Xian used the Tai Chi diagram and spun it between heaven and earth. Yin and yang energy fell, and a terrifying light burned everything. The terrifying law of death took away the vitality of these people. This was the most terrifying thing. These people retreated frantically, and some of them had their vitality taken away. The middle-aged man's pupils shrank. Although he looked young, to be honest, he had lived for more than 6,000 years. If his vitality was taken away, it would be difficult for him to recover. Therefore, he circled the desolate saber around his body and shot out countless saber lights to block the law of death. With just this bit of strength, you dare to come out and contend with me? You must be tired of living. Lin Xian sneered, and the middle-aged man was furious. Damn it, how dare you be so reckless? He turned to look at Shi Qingyu and said, let's work together. Shi Qingyu nodded and walked up. The stone tower above her head shone with unparalleled light. The two great sage human kings' weapons exploded together, and the power was extremely strong. At this moment, everyone was stunned. It's over. Lin Xian is really in danger this time. He had to face two great sage human kings' weapons alone. No matter how strong he was, he would not be able to resist. Lu Yuan and Shengguan Xiaoxian's faces turned ugly. The advantage that he had gained was probably gone now. Facing such a dangerous situation, Lin Xian smiled. His black hair danced wildly, and he looked like a peerless god of war. Do you think you can kill me with just the two of you? How naive. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. At this moment, Lin Xian's strength had reached its peak. The power in his body continued to erupt. He stared at Shi Qingyu and said coldly, I've already spared you twice, but you still don't know what's good for you. Do you really think I can hold back just because you're from the primordial grotto? With that, Lin Xian charged over. The spear of destruction pressed forward, shattering everything in its path. Shi Qingyu's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the other party's target to be him. Damn it! Attack! With a roar, the stone pagoda above Zhang Xian's head descended once more. 10,000 strands of aura bombarded the stone pagoda relentlessly. On the other side, the old man also unleashed a terrifying saber light. Lin Xian kept dodging, using the void escape technique to appear and disappear unpredictably, dodging these attacks. His target this time was Shi Qingyu. He wanted to get rid of one of them first. The terrifying demonic qi was unparalleled as it rushed towards Shi Qingyu. Even the power of the desolate blade was destroyed by Lin Xian's stellar transposition. In an instant, a great battle broke out. It was extremely terrifying. Damn it, how dare you underestimate me? Shi Qingyu roared angrily, quickly unleashing an even more terrifying attack. At the same time, the desolate blade unleashed its power. It was extremely sharp and slashed around Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face turned pale from the impact. He even bled. However, he didn't care. His eyes became even colder. He continued to attack his opponent. At this moment, Lin Xian unleashed all his power. He was extremely powerful. On the great spear of destruction, the roar of a dragon and tiger could be heard. The power of the great dragon sword soul also erupted. This attack blasted everything apart. He was sent flying. Shi Qingyu also vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The surrounding people couldn't believe it. Lin Xian also vomited a mouthful of blood. Facing two great sage human king weapons alone was a heavy burden on him. However, the light in his eyes shone even more brightly. Now was the time. A dragon-shaped sword aura flew out, and once again cut Shi Qingyu's broken body into a bloody mist. Roar! Shi Qingyu roared crazily, save me. He summoned the stone pagoda to defend himself. On the other hand, he was pleading for help from the middle-aged man from the Great Desolate Mansion. The middle-aged man from the Great Desolate Mansion once again used the desolate blade to defend himself. However, it was too late. 10 types of laws erupted from the sword. The most terrifying one was the power of the great dragon sword soul. It destroyed everything. As for the law of death, it completely absorbed the remaining life force. In this way, Shi Qingyu's vitality was completely gone. His soul was also destroyed. In the end, it turned into a bloody mist and ceased to exist. Is he dead? The surrounding people were all stunned. They couldn't believe it. Oh God! Shi Qingyu had a Sage King weapon. How powerful was he? Even if he couldn't defeat Lin Xian, he would have no problem staying alive. However, he was completely destroyed by Lin Xian. Everyone couldn't believe it. The middle-aged man from the Great Desolate Mansion also narrowed his eyes. His face turned extremely ugly. To be honest, the reason why he dared to attack was because of the Sage King weapon in his hand. However, he discovered that the Sage King weapon couldn't save his life. This caused him to become incomparably terrified. He led the people from the Great Desolate Mansion and quickly escaped. Lin Xian chased after them. Where could they escape to? He continued to use the power of destruction, causing the people in front of him to tremble. Some of them even vomited blood. However, the middle-aged man didn't dare to fight back. During this period, he encountered the people from the Acheron Hall and was ready to fight back. However, 2 people from the Acheron Hall were killed. 3 people from the Great Desolate Mansion were also killed. This time, they didn't dare to attack again. Next, they encountered the Myriad Swords Pavilion. Similarly, they were also killed by Lin Xian. They instantly collapsed. This time, there weren't many people who came in. As a result, their losses were even more severe. Along the way, Lin Xian shook the heavens and earth. In the end, everyone knew that Lin Xian was chasing after those people. The battle ahead alerted Fu Hongye and the others. They also followed. When they found out that it was Lin Xian, they were shocked. What's going on? When they asked, they found out that Lin Xian had done such a heaven-defying thing. He single-handedly defeated those experts from the sacred city, and they didn't even dare to fight back. In fact, many of them even died. Their expressions became extremely strange. This was heaven-defying. They wondered how the Sage Kings outside would react when they found out about this. Next, the entire primordial battlefield became even more confusing. Moreover, there was a force that was spreading. Everyone knew that perhaps the time to leave was very close. As expected, a vortex appeared in the sky and slowly appeared. It seemed that the time had come. This made everyone sigh. Although the primordial battlefield was extremely dangerous and there was a high chance of death, the benefits were also great. Not only did they have the king's heart, but they also had various treasures. They really hoped that they could stay for a while longer. Lin Xian took a deep breath when he saw this. Chapter 43:20. The middle-aged man said, "Don't worry, he will definitely die today." The middle-aged man took a step forward and slashed down with his saber. Heaven and earth were split apart. Lin Xian sneered and used the Great Destruction Spear to block the attack. Heaven and earth trembled, but they could not break the Great Destruction Spear. Seeing this, the middle-aged man's face turned ugly. He waved his saber continuously. Lin Xian blocked all his attacks. At the same time, Lin Xian used the Tai Chi diagram, and it spun between heaven and earth. Yin and yang energy fell, and the terrifying light burned everything. The terrifying law of death took away the vitality of these people. That was the most terrifying thing. These people retreated frantically, and some of them had their vitality taken away. The middle-aged man's pupils shrank. Although he looked young, to be honest, he had lived for more than 6,000 years. If his vitality was taken away, it would be difficult for him to recover. Therefore, he circled the desolate saber around him and shot out countless saber lights to block the law of death. With just this bit of strength, you dare to come out and contend with me? You're courting death. Lin Xian sneered, and the middle-aged man was furious. Damn it, how dare you be so courting death? He turned to Shi Qingyu and said, "Let's work together." Shi Qingyu nodded and walked up. The stone tower above her head shone with incomparable light. 2 great sage human kings Wu. When Qi and Qi burst out together, the power was extremely strong. At this moment, everyone was stunned. It's over. Lin Xian is really in danger this time. He has to face 2 great sage human kings Wu alone. No matter how strong he is, he won't be able to stop them. Lu Yuan and Shangguan Xiaoxian's faces turned ugly. The advantage that he had gained was probably gone now. Facing such a dangerous situation, Lin Xian smiled. His black hair danced wildly, and he looked like a peerless god of war. Do you think you can kill me with just the two of you? You're too naive. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. At this moment, Lin Xian's strength had reached its peak. The power in his body continued to erupt. He stared at Shi Qingyu and said coldly, I've already spared you twice, but you still don't know what's good for you. Do you really think I can hold back just because you're from the primordial grotto? With that, Lin Xian charged over. The spear of destruction pressed forward, shattering everything in its path. Shi Qingyu's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the other party's target to be him. Damn it. Attack. With a roar, the stone pagoda above Zhang Xian's head descended once more. 10,000 strands of aura bombarded the stone pagoda relentlessly. On the other side, the old man also unleashed a terrifying saber light. Lin Xian kept dodging, using the void escape technique to appear and disappear unpredictably, dodging these attacks. His target this time was Shi Qingyu. He wanted to get rid of one of them first. The terrifying demonic qi was unparalleled as it rushed towards Shi Qingyu. Even the power of the desolate blade was destroyed by Lin Xian's stellar transposition. In an instant, a great battle broke out. It was extremely terrifying. Damn it! How dare you underestimate me? Shi Qingyu roared angrily and quickly unleashed an even more terrifying attack. At the same time, the desolate blade unleashed its power. It was extremely sharp and slashed around Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face turned pale from the impact. He even bled. However, he didn't care. His eyes became even colder. He continued to attack his opponent. At this moment, Lin Xian unleashed all his power. He was extremely powerful. On the great spear of destruction, the roars of dragons and tigers could be heard. The power of the great dragon sword soul also erupted. With one strike, everything was blasted apart. He was sent flying. Shi Qingyu also vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The surrounding people couldn't believe it. Lin Xian also vomited a mouthful of blood. One rin against two great sage kings. His burden was extremely heavy. However, the light in his eyes shone even more brightly. Now was the time. A dragon-shaped sword aura flew out, and once again cut Shi Qingyu's broken body into a bloody mist. Roar. Shi Qingyu roared crazily. Save me. He summoned the stone pagoda to defend himself. On the other hand, he was asking the middle-aged man from the great desolate mansion for help. The middle-aged man from the great desolate mansion once again used the desolate blade to defend himself. However, it was too late. 10 types of laws erupted from the sword. The most terrifying one was the power of the great dragon sword soul. It destroyed everything. As for the law of death, it completely absorbed the remaining life force. In this way, Shi Qingyu's vitality was completely gone. His soul was also destroyed. In the end, it turned into a bloody mist and ceased to exist. Is he dead? The surrounding people were all stunned. They couldn't believe it. Oh God! Shi Qingyu had the Sage King Wu. How powerful was Qi? Even if he couldn't defeat Lin Xian, he would have no problem keeping himself alive. However, he was completely destroyed in the hands of Lin Xian. Everyone couldn't believe it. The middle-aged man from the great desolate mansion also narrowed his eyes, and his face turned extremely ugly. To be honest, the reason why he dared to attack was because he had the Sage King Wu in his hands. However, he realized that Qi was useless. The Sage King Wu. Now he realized that it couldn't save his life. This caused him to become incomparably terrified. He quickly led the people from the great desolate mansion to escape. Lin Xian chased after them. Where could they escape to? He continued to use the power of great destruction, causing the people in front of him to tremble and spit out blood. However, the middle-aged man didn't dare to fight back. During this period, he encountered the people from the Acheron Hall, and was ready to fight back. In the end, 2 people from the Acheron Hall were killed and 3 people from the Great Desolate Mansion were killed. This time they didn't dare to attack again. Next, they encountered the Myriad Swords Pavilion. Similarly, they were also killed by Lin Xian. They instantly collapsed. This time, there weren't many people who came in. As a result, their losses were even greater. Along the way, Lin Xian shook the heavens and earth. In the end, everyone knew that Lin Xian was chasing after those people. The battle ahead alerted Fu Hongye and the others. They also followed. When they found out that it was Lin Xian, they were shocked. What's going on? When they asked, they found out that Lin Xian had done such a heaven-defying thing. He single-handedly defeated those experts from the sacred city, and they didn't dare to fight back. In fact, many of them died. Their expressions became extremely strange. This was heaven-defying. They wondered how the sage kings outside would react when they found out about this. Next, the entire primordial battlefield became even more confusing. Moreover, there was a force that was spreading. Everyone knew that perhaps the time to leave was very close. Indeed, a vortex appeared in the sky and slowly appeared. It seemed that the time was up. This made everyone sigh. Although the primordial battlefield was extremely dangerous, and there was a high chance of death, the benefits were also great. Not only did they have the king's heart, but they also had various treasures. They really hoped that they could stay for a while longer. Lin Xian took a deep breath when he saw this. At this moment, many people had gathered around him. He said, "Why don't we attack one last time?" Chapter 43:21. What do you want to do? Ling Hu Chuexue and the others asked. Because there was very little time now. If they didn't find it, they would leave this place. Lin Xian said that we don't have to look for them. We'll let them come by themselves. As he spoke, he took out the Holy King's will. At the last moment, if they found a large number of Holy Kings will gathered together, do you think they would come? Hearing those words, Ling Hu Chuexue and the others revealed smiles on their faces. Great, these people also took out the Holy King's will. Immediately, more than a dozen Holy Kings will emitted light between heaven and earth. That terrifying aura immediately attracted countless people. Heavens! It was the aura of the Holy King's will. Some people's eyes turned red again. To be honest, not everyone had obtained the Holy King's will. Originally, they were already in despair. However, at the last moment, the aura of so many Holy Kings will appeared. This made them ecstatic. If they could obtain it, then they still had a chance. In an instant, many people rushed out. Not only did they not obtain it, but those who obtained it were also jealous. It was precisely because they obtained the Holy King's will that they knew how precious it was. Therefore, they wanted to get as much as possible. Countless people gathered in this direction. In the next moment, they discovered that there were indeed more than a dozen Holy Kings will in the sky. These people's eyes turned red. However, they discovered that there were some figures below these Holy Kings' will. At this moment, they were sneering. The people of Wuxia City. When they saw Lin Xian, Ling Hu Chuexue, and the others, their scalps immediately went numb. Could it be that this was a trap? Some people instantly retreated, not wanting to fight with the people of Wuxia City. There were also some people who came, such as the people of Thunder God City and the people of Demon City. The people of Taigu Grotto and the 10,000 Sword Pavilion also came. So what if it was a trap? They had so many people. Could they not defeat the other party? In an instant, these people attacked crazily. Lin Xian and Ling Hu Chuexue instantly took out two Holy King's wands. Qi, killing in all directions. At the same time, some formations appeared in the surroundings. These were all set up by Lin Xian. Not good, this is a trap. Quickly counterattack. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they roared crazily. For a moment, terrifying laws filled the world. An unparalleled pressure spread out, causing the entire world to shake. However, this time, Lin Xian and the others were fully prepared. They instantly attacked, causing the expressions of the experts from the holy city to change. Boom. In an instant, many people were sent flying and vomited blood. Some people even knelt on the ground, unable to resist. Run. Those people who were originally watching the battle immediately ran away. They still wanted to sit back and reap the benefits. But now it seemed that it was impossible. It was already good enough that they could escape. The whirlpool in the sky grew bigger and bigger. And those people flew out one after another. The next moment, they felt the world spin. And when they reappeared, they were already outside. Outside, the reincarnation protector stood there with stars flickering in his eyes. The saint rulers around him all wore solemn expressions as they waited. They looked at the cave in front of them and felt the aura inside. They all took a deep breath. They knew that the person inside was about to come out. In the next moment, they saw figures flying out of the pagoda one after another. Are they finally out? These people all looked over nervously. Although they were all saint rulers, they were also extremely nervous at this moment. After all, they were not sure how many people could successfully come out of the last round. And those who went in, it would be a huge loss if even one of them died. After all, those who were able to reach the third round were all extremely powerful people in the Holy City. The people from the returning Principal Palace, Giant Spirit Pavilion, and Limitless Sect led the way and flew out first. After they came out, they heaved a sigh of relief. Saint Rulers! They found their respective Saint Rulers and quickly walked over. Those Saint Rulers also revealed a smile. How was it? Did you get the Saint Ruler's will? They asked. Those people nodded. Some people got it, and of course some didn't. After all, the Saint Ruler's will was an extremely rare thing. The other Saint Rulers frowned. Why did only these people come out? The others should still be behind. Sure enough, a few more people came out. However, after a long time, no one else came out. What's going on? The Saint Rulers of the Thousand Demon City and Thunder God City frowned. Those who came out said there was a big battle inside. Peerless City and the people from the Acheron Hall and Primordial Grotto were fighting. Are they fighting? No one was surprised. But soon the Saint Rulers' faces changed. Those who came out said that the people from Peerless City had set up a trap to attack the people from the Primordial Grotto, Thunder God City, and Great Desolate Mansion. Not only that, but Lin Wudy was really too strong. He had killed too many experts. Half of the people from the Acheron Hall had died in his hands. It was the same for the Great Desolate Mansion. What? As soon as those words came out, Saint Ruler Silver Corpse and Saint Ruler Desolate Heaven were instantly enraged. Extremely terrifying killing intent burst out from their eyes. What's going on? A cold voice resounded between heaven and earth. Those people's scalps went numb. The Saint Rulers frowned as they protected their subordinates. What's the meaning of this? Don't scare the people of the Holy City. The two great sage Saint Rulers also restrained their killing intent, but they still asked, what's going on? Those who came out said, we don't know. It is impossible for us to know the specifics. We only know that a terrifying battle took place. The people from the Primordial Grotto snorted. Don't worry, our people will deal with them. His eyes were filled with confidence. However, another person whispered, someone from the Primordial Grotto killed the Saint Ruler Wu. He was killed by Lin Wudy. What? The surrounding Saint Rulers were stunned. The Primordial Grotto's Saint Ruler spirit language's face stiffened. He had just said that their people were strong, but they were slapped in the face. Damn it, how was that possible? Saint Ruler spirit language roared, his voice shaking the 9 heavens. Those who came out did not dare to say anything. Some of the Saint Rulers looked gloomy. Many of them looked at Peerless Saint Ruler. Peerless Saint Ruler put his hands behind his back and smiled. It seemed that Peerless City had achieved great results in the Primordial Grotto. The battle inside was very intense. Another 2 people from the Acheron Hall were killed. Only one person was left. He quickly ran away. A few people from the Primordial Grotto had also died. Peerless City was too strong. No one dared to fight anymore. Let's run away. These people all ran away. Lin Xian and the others also quickly chased after them. In the Reincarnation Pagoda, a light flashed and a figure suddenly appeared. It was someone from the Acheron Hall. Many people looked over. Was the battle over? It seemed that the people from the Acheron Hall had returned victorious. Chapter 43:22. However, right at this moment, everyone discovered that a piercingly cold sword light streaked across the sky, directly cleaving that figure into 2. In the next moment, the body turned into a bloody mist and floated out of the pagoda. What? Was he killed? Was there someone chasing after him? The surrounding people were all stunned. The Silver Corpse Saint King roared in anger. Damn it! The Reincarnation Protector stretched out his hand and tried to grab the Reincarnation Protector. However, the Reincarnation Protector turned around and glared at him coldly. The Silver Corpse Sage King's hand froze in midair. This was the Reincarnation Guardian's territory, and he did not dare to behave atrociously. He could only clench his teeth and retract his hand. The person who came out of the Acheron Hall was killed. After that, more people came out. They were the people from the Primordial Grotto, the Great Desolate Mansion, and the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. They were all injured and their faces were ugly. The moment they came out, they shouted, "Old ancestor, kill him! Sage King, you must avenge us!" These people roared crazily. They were on the verge of tears. Meanwhile, those Saint Kings frowned. What was going on? Could it be that their people had suffered a loss? The silver corpse Sage King of the Acheron Hall was even uglier. That was because no one came back from his side. Damn it! How could it be? Where were the 5 people who went in? They must be behind. However, the next people to come out were Lin Xian, Ling Huchueshue, and the rest of the people from Wushuang City. The Wushuang Sage King smiled. He waved his hand and called everyone to his side. Damn it! Where were they? The silver corpse Sage King roared and stared at the front. Lin Xian sneered. Don't look forward to it. The 5 people from the Acheron Hall have all died in there. What? The other Sage Kings were also shocked. All of them had died? To be honest, they had expected the 5 of them to die. However, only 5 people had entered the Acheron Hall. Didn't that mean that all of them had died? That was too shocking. Not a single person from the holy city could come out. Moreover, the Acheron Hall was the host this time. That was a slap in the face. The people from the other holy cities also looked ugly. The reason for that was because their losses were also extremely disastrous. For example, the primordial grotto's spirit sage King Yanling was grinding his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. He discovered that Shi Qingyu was among the dead. One had to know that Shi Qingyu was a top-notch expert on their side. Moreover, she had even taken the Saint King Wu back then. He even joined forces with an expert from the Great Desolate Mansion. 2 Sage King Wu even she couldn't kill him? Like the Great Desolate Mansion and Thunder God City, they also suffered heavy losses. Therefore, these people gritted their teeth and looked towards Peerless City. The gazes of these Saint Kings pierced through the void, shattering the surrounding heaven and earth. Peerless Sacred King activated the law of devouring, forming a huge black vortex that engulfed the murderous intent. Then he said, "What? Are you going to fight in front of the reincarnation protectors?" "Alright, Peerless Saint King, I will remember this. Do you think this matter will end so quickly? Just you wait." The eyes of these Saint Kings were filled with killing intent. However, Peerless Saint King groaned coldly. He did not care at all. So what if it was a threat? Lin Xian sneered. "What? You can't take it anymore? I said that when you attacked me back then, you should have thought of the consequences today. Damn it." Saint King Silver Corpse and the others gritted their teeth. They wished they could kill this despicable brat in front of them. However, they did not do so because the reincarnation protector had walked over. He said, "Since everyone has come out, I believe that some of you have obtained the Saint King's will. Very well. 1 year later, bring the Saint King's will to see me. I will bring you to the buried Emperor Star. Alright, you can leave now." As the reincarnation protector's voice fell, the surrounding people took a deep breath. Finally, the final moment had arrived. Some of the people who had obtained the Saint Kings will clenched their fists. 1 year later, they could go to the buried Emperor Star. Let's go. Since the matter had ended, there was no point in staying here. It was better to leave. Peerless Saint King waved his hand, and the law of devouring enveloped Lin Xian and the others. Then he left. Murong Qingqing and the rest also left one after another. On the other side, the immemorial grotto, Acheron Palace and the others also soared into the sky and left. However, they did not leave the origin star. Instead, they stayed here. After all, 1 year's time was very short for them. "Master, where are we going?" Ling Huchueshue and the others asked after 3 of them came out. Here they were unfamiliar with the people and the place. Lin Xian said, "I have a place. Let's go." Indeed, the Immortal Palace was still here. Lin Xian felt that it was time to go back. They walked towards the Immortal Palace. As for the others, after they came out, they gritted their teeth and said, "Go and find out where they went." The Saint Kings gritted their teeth. It seemed like they wanted to attack immediately. At this time, Gu Feng and the people from the Gu family came out. He said that Lin Xian had left this world. Back then, he was the palace master of the Immortal Palace. You can go to the Immortal Palace to find him. The Immortal Palace? The people from Acheron Palace and the Great Desolation Mansion frowned. The people from Immemorial Grotto snorted. I know. Let's go. In an instant, they also left. On the other side, Wanjiani transmitted his voice to Gufeng. You promised me that you would let me learn the primal chaos technique. Gufeng's eyes flickered. He said, don't worry. I'll bring you there in 2 days. The Immortal Palace. At this moment, there were changes. As the power of the true spirit world recovered, the strength of the people of the Immortal Palace increased by leaps and bounds. Peacock and the others had also become saints. Moreover, the overall strength of the Immortal Palace had increased. Some living fossils had even been revived. Therefore, they were still a powerful force now. However, on this day, a black vortex suddenly appeared outside the Immortal Palace. Following that, one figure after another walked out from the crowd. Immediately, the people in the Immortal Palace sensed it. Many elders opened their eyes. Their eyes shone with a piercing light. How terrifying. This was the aura of a Saint King. Were there Saint Kings? Although the true spirit world had recovered its power, a Saint King was still a peak existence here. It was very rare to find a higher existence. Perhaps the buried Emperor Star had an even more terrifying supreme existence. Therefore, when Lin Xian and the others sensed the aura of a Saint King, they felt as if they were facing a great enemy. Some of them said, come, let's go out and take a look. At the same time, he told them to quickly inform the old palace master. The old palace master he spoke of was naturally Xia Jiuyo. This was the Immortal Palace? After the peerless Saint King and the others came out, they looked ahead and revealed a look of surprise. Since they dared to use the name Immortal Palace, it was enough to show how powerful the foundation of the sect ahead was. Chapter 43-23. Lin Xian agreed. Indeed, this was the place. He did not expect the changes to be so great. To be honest, although he was the Immortal Palace's palace master, he was only in charge of a portion of the palace's power. Most of the palace's power should still be in hibernation. Now that he was here, he realized that some of the palace's power had begun to awaken. At that moment, the formation in front of him opened up. One after another, figures flew out. They were all sages. They asked what kind of divine being had graced their immortal palace with his presence. As those figures walked out, they looked forward. Soon, they saw a handsome young man. They were stunned. He was so young. That person was the Sage King. Moreover, he realized that there were many young figures around the Sage King. Each of them was very powerful. They should be young geniuses. Unparalleled Sage King said. We are from the second astral realm, unparalleled sacred city. The elders in the second astral realm frowned. They did not seem to have much contact with the people from the second astral realm. At that moment, Lin Xian walked out and looked around. He realized that some of the elders looked unfamiliar. They must have awakened recently. Do you guys still recognize me? As soon as he said that, countless people looked at Lin Xian. Some of them were surprised, while others were shocked. It can't be right? At that moment, another figure walked over from afar. It was a woman with 5-colored light. She exclaimed, Palace Master, is that you? As soon as she said that, everyone was stunned. Palace Master. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, that's right, it's Palace Master Lin. Palace Master Lin has returned from the ancient Star Road. That's right, it's me. Lin Xian said loudly. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, greetings, Palace Master. Peacock took the lead and bowed with her people. The others also bowed one after another. Greetings, Palace Master. Some of the elders had never seen Lin Xian before, but they knew who he was. He was the young palace master that they had never met. This is my senior brother, unparalleled Sage King. Lin Xian introduced him with a smile. Hearing that, the surrounding people were stunned. What? Ling Hu Chuexue and the others also widened their eyes in disbelief. Senior brother. To be honest, they thought that Peerless Holy King was Lin Xian's master. Who would have thought that it would be his senior brother? What was going on? The Peerless Holy King said that Lin Xian was indeed his junior brother, and he would tell them more about it when he had the time. Ling Hu Chuexue and the others took a deep breath. They knew that this matter was true. It would appear that they had gained another martial uncle. The group entered the Immortal Palace. The people inside the Immortal Palace also cried out in surprise. They didn't expect Lin Xian to return. They hurried in. What followed was a feast. However, at this time, the formation outside the Immortal Palace changed again. In the next moment, a yellow springs diagram appeared above their palace. Countless streams of yellow spring water surged in all directions, forming the figure of the Silver Corpse Holy King. Then a cold voice sounded. Was that Immortal Palace? A person who was abandoned by an immortal could actually become Immortal Palace's palace master. It truly was a mockery. Who was it? Immortal Palace's people cried out in alarm, raising their heads towards the sky. They felt the aura of a holy king pressing down on them. Needless to say, it was also a holy king. Lin Xian and the people from Peerless City all frowned. It was the Silver Corpse Holy King. This guy actually found his way here. Who are you? Hurry up and leave. Or don't blame Immortal Palace for being impolite. The elders beside him also stood up and shouted coldly. So what if the other party was a holy king? Anyone who dared to provoke their palace master was an enemy of Immortal Palace. Who cared who you were? They couldn't let you go. At this time, the void shattered, and another figure appeared. It was Spirit Holy King Yan. He said coldly, Immortal Palace, do you want to go against our immemorial grotto? When these words came out, the expressions of Immortal Palace's people changed. It was actually someone from the immemorial grotto. They frowned. Lin Xian looked at the two people and said coldly, what did you come here for? Brat, we're here for you. Spirit Holy King Yan's cold voice sounded. However, before he could finish his words, he heard an angry shout, get out. Lin Xian said coldly, who do you think you are? You came to Immortal Palace and obediently waited outside the array. Who allowed you to come in like this? At this moment, Lin Xian was incomparably domineering. Spirit Holy King Yan's expression immediately turned ugly. A young junior dared to shout at him. Did he want to die? His body emitted a terrifying killing intent. The Silver Corpse Holy King also said, Brat, do you really think we don't dare to attack you? There are no reincarnation protectors now. If you want to attack, you can try. I can guarantee that your two holy lands will be miserable. Peerless Holy King also stood up, emitting a terrifying killing intent. Next, Thunder God City's Holy King, Thousand Demon City's Desolate Heaven Holy King, and even Myriad Sword Frame's Ghost Deity Holy King all came out. Their cold gazes looked down. Although they didn't attack, their intentions were very clear. This was a threat. Obviously, Peerless City had to be extra careful. The figures of the sacred rulers finally disappeared into the sky. However, everyone's brows were tightly furrowed. What was the palace master doing? The people of Immortal Palace were very confused. Lin Xian said, these are all enemies. Send people to investigate them and watch their movements. The people of Immortal Palace nodded and began to prepare. Lin Xian said, Senior brother, let's go into seclusion first. After a year, we can go to the buried Emperor Star. At that time, even holy kings won't be able to threaten us. Let's hope so. Peerless Holy King nodded and said, you guys have just returned and experienced a series of battles. You should quickly go into seclusion and cultivate. Lin Xian and the others began to cultivate. Peerless Holy King frowned. Although there was only a year's time, would those people really not attack? It seemed like he had to prepare in advance. Lin Xian began to cultivate in seclusion. He used all kinds of treasures to recover his exhausted strength and injuries. Then he prepared to come out of seclusion. Although he had obtained many treasures, he had obtained 2 Holy King wills. One of them was even cultivated by him. Therefore, he only had 1 Holy King wills left. However, he wasn't worried because he had ways to get it. Therefore, he prepared to go out and meet the 9-headed Qilin. The 9-headed Qilin, as the top genius of Thousand Demon City, would definitely obtain some Holy King wills this time. Therefore, he prepared to collect them. Hearing that Lin Xian was going out, the people of Immortal Palace became nervous. After all, the Holy Kings had just left. Chapter 43-24. Lin Xian said. It was fine, he was not too worried. The Great Sage Pagoda had returned to his hands. Even if he encountered a Sage King and could not defeat him, he could easily escape by hiding in the Great Sage Pagoda. Lin Xian left the Immortal Palace and returned to this world. He felt everything that was familiar yet unfamiliar. He was deeply moved. Back then, he was known as the Central Emperor here. He and a few others were the top geniuses. He wondered how many geniuses had appeared in this world after so many years. Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. On this day he arrived at an area. He discovered that there were many people gathered in front of him. Moreover, they were discussing. Clearly, something big had happened. He also walked over. His return did not cause too much of a commotion. Because so many years had passed, he had probably become a legend. Most of the people who had seen him before had left. Therefore, these rising geniuses really did not know him. Lin Xian came to the crowd and heard some discussions. It turned out that not long ago, a shocking battle had happened here. Someone had defeated the Four Symbols Sacred Ground saints. It caused an uproar. The Four Symbols Sacred Ground was a sacred ground that was very powerful in close combat and physical strength. And now there was even a difference from before. The current saints were all top geniuses. Their status and strength should be at the level of sacred venerables. It was really shocking that such a person was defeated. Lin Xian was also curious. He heard a name called Han Chong. He had never heard of this name before, so he did not know who the other party was. However, there were geniuses rising every day in the true spirit world, so he was not surprised. However, a few days later, Lin Xian heard another piece of news. It turned out that this Han Chong was going to continue challenging. This time, he was challenging the Five Elements Sacred Ground Saints. For a moment, countless people exclaimed. Even Lin Xian was surprised. He recalled that when he had become famous all those years ago, he had challenged the most powerful cultivators of all walks of life. The Five Elements Sacred Ground was nearby, so Lin Xian was prepared to go and take a look. He soared into the sky. At this moment, the Five Elements Sacred Ground's expression was solemn. They also had some understanding of Han Chong. But what he knew was very limited. He only knew that the other party had defeated the Holy Sons of two holy lands, and was extremely powerful. However, they had no idea who the other party was, or where he came from. And now, such a mysterious young expert had come to challenge their Five Elements Holy Land. Would they be able to stop it? Right now, the Five Elements Holy Son was an extremely dazzling person. He had also reached middle stage Holy Venerate, and his cultivation was very strong. Furthermore, the power of the Five Elements formed a set of armor that completely enveloped him. His confident gaze was rarely seen. Elders, don't worry. I can handle it. The elders of the Five Elements Holy Land also nodded. The Five Elements Saint was a genius who had suddenly grown up after the changes in heaven and earth. Moreover, they were very lucky and had consumed heavenly treasures before. Therefore, they were very confident. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, the battle finally arrived. A figure descended from the sky. It was a man in a blue battle robe. He looked very young. However, no one dared to underestimate him at all, because he was Han Chong, who had just risen to prominence recently. On the other side, a group of people also walked out from the Five Elements Holy Land. The person in the lead was a man in Five Elements armor. He was the Five Elements Saint. His piercing gaze pierced through the void as he looked at the man in the sky. He said coldly, "Are you Han Chong?" "That's right, I am Han Chong." He descended and landed on the ground. He looked at the Five Elements Saint. "Today, I challenge you. Show me your strongest technique. Don't disappoint me." "You will see," the Five Elements Saint said coldly. In the next moment, he formed a seal with his palms, and the terrifying Five Elements law gathered in his hands. A Five Elements mountain formed around him. Everyone gasped. The Five Elements Saint was indeed extraordinary. That was for sure. Now that he could become a saint, he must be a top genius. Discussions broke out one after another. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes as well. The laws of the Five Elements? He knew them as well. He could tell that the other party was indeed very powerful, and his attainments in the Five Elements law were very deep. He didn't know what kind of ultimate technique this Han Chong was using. He was very curious about it. Han Chong felt the Five Elements power between heaven and earth, and it quickly spread out and charged towards him. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. "Very good. You are worthy of my attack." In the next moment he roared. and his gaze pierced through the void like a divine arrow. There was an extremely terrifying power in his body that exploded and swept out in all directions. This power made many people suck in a breath of cold air. The eyes of the 5 Elements Holy Land's experts also shrank. He was too powerful. Who was the other party? They were very nervous now. Lin Xian let out a cry of surprise as well. This person was so strong. He was truly stunned. Although the 5 Elements Saint was powerful, Lin Xian was not worried. After all, he had fought all the way on the ancient road of the starry sky and returned with a strong momentum. His strength had long surpassed everything. However, the power that exploded from Han Chong's body shocked him. He felt that Han Chong would be able to walk to the end even if he was placed in the Holy Heavens Tao debate. Such a person had appeared out of nowhere. Who exactly was he? When the 5 Elements Saint sensed the terrifying power coming from the other party, he roared furiously. He did not dare to be careless. 5 Elements Palm. He took out an extremely powerful technique as soon as he attacked. The laws revolved around his fingers as he slapped forward. Ice Blade. The laws of ice in Han Chong's hand condensed into a long blue blade, and he slashed it down. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Countless voids were completely shattered by this slash. In the next moment, the two techniques collided. Then an extremely powerful force exploded. Not good. Run. The surrounding people who were watching the battle frantically retreated, because they realized that the arrays that they had set up around them were all shattered. At this moment, many people were sent flying. Lin Xian's figure flickered and retreated into the distance. A golden light flashed in his eyes as he looked forward. His heavenly secret divine eyes saw through everything. Then he revealed a look of surprise. The other people also retreated to the back and watched nervously. How was it? They did not expect the two of them to use such powerful techniques as soon as they came up. The laws in front of them gradually disappeared, and everyone's eyes widened. They were stunned because they saw a figure standing proudly in front of them. It was Han Chong. The 5 Elements Saint's armor was already shattered, and one of his arms was hanging down with blood flowing out. It was obvious that the 5 Elements Saint had been defeated in the previous attack. It can't be right? Another Holy Sun has been defeated? The surrounding people were shocked. The people from the 5 Elements Sacred Land also had ugly expressions. The 5 Elements Saint's face was pale. He had not expected that he would not even be able to block a single attack. However, this time, Han Chong did not leave immediately like before. Instead, he continued to look forward. There was an even colder light in his eyes. Chapter 43-25. Why? Do you still want to continue fighting? The people from the 5 Elements Holy Land looked extremely cold. The other party was going too far. The surrounding spectators were also in an uproar. Because before, Han Chong had defeated 2 saints and left immediately after the battle. But they didn't expect it to be different this time. They didn't know what the other party was thinking. In the crowd, Lin Xian looked at this scene, and was also surprised. That attack just now was so terrifying. Obviously, the other party should have used an extremely powerful divine ability. He was getting more and more interested in this person. And soon he was stunned, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. Han Chong said indifferently, I heard that 2 people from the 5 Elements Holy Land came to participate in the Tao discussion. Let them come out, I want to fight with them. What was the Tao discussion of the Sage Heavens? All the spectators were stunned. They didn't know anything about it. However, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. Others didn't know, but he knew because he came back to participate in the Tao discussion. But it shouldn't be. This news should only be known by a small number of people. How did the other party know? And was there anyone in the 5 Elements Holy Land? The people from the 5 Elements Holy Land were also cold. Indeed, 2 people had come recently. They were experts from the distant starry sky, and they didn't dare to be negligent. They just didn't expect that Han Chong would want to see these 2 people now. Just as they were thinking, 2 figures walked out from the 5 Elements Holy Land. They were an old man and a young man. As soon as they came out, they attracted the attention of countless people. Who were these 2 people? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It was them. These 2 people from the 7 Stars Tower had successfully passed the 3rd round of the assessment. He didn't expect these two people to be in the Five Elements Holy Land. But he understood after thinking about it. Those who could come to the Tao discussion were the top geniuses and experts of the second astral realm. Such people would definitely visit these holy land one by one. After all, planet Xiwan was one of the two most important stars in the starry sky. These people wouldn't miss it. In fact, he was thinking about the same thing. After the two people came out, they asked, "Are you looking for us?" They stared at Han Chong and frowned. They had also been watching the battle earlier, but they had been hiding in the shadows. They hadn't expected Han Chong to be so powerful. Moreover, after he won, he would challenge them. "That's right, I'm looking for you. Come over here." Han Chong's gaze became piercingly cold once again, and an endless amount of ice appeared around him. Everyone felt as if their bodies were about to be frozen. What a terrifying power of ice. The old man from the 7-star tower was stunned. Then he looked at the person beside him. "Xinghe, go and fight with him." Xinghe nodded and walked forward. He was someone who had participated in the Tao discussion of the holy heavens, and had successfully made it to the 3rd stage. His strength was definitely beyond everyone's imagination. As expected, the surrounding spectators were still wondering who the other party was. However, when they sensed the terrifying aura emitted from Xinghe's body, they all cried out in alarm. So strong. This person's aura was even stronger than the 5 Elements saints. Just who was he? Han Chong's lips curled up in a smile. "Now that's interesting. I hope you won't disappoint me." Then he used the ice blade again. With one slash, the sky fell and the earth cracked. The shattered areas were instantly frozen. The surrounding spectators cried out in alarm once again. This move had defeated the 5 Elements saint previously. When the 5 Elements saint saw this move again, his face turned cold. Would Xinghe be able to block it? That was everyone's doubt. Lin Xian's eyes also emitted a piercingly cold radiance. When Xinghe saw this, he formed a seal with his palms. 7 stars appeared on his body, forming a set of starry battle armor. Then, a starry sky map formed in his palms and he slapped it forward. An incomparably vast power spread out in all directions. This attack was even more powerful than the 5 Elements palm print from before. In fact, it was not weaker than the ice blade. As expected, when the two superpowers collided, they both disappeared. He had actually blocked Han Chong's attack. He was really too strong. The surrounding spectators were stunned. Then, they became excited. They thought that this would be a fierce battle. Xinghe also heaved a sigh of relief after blocking the other party's attack. It seemed that the other party was not invincible. Thinking of this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a confident smile. His body swayed, and he quickly charged out. A 7-star sword appeared in his hand. This was not a sacred weapon, but a superpower. It was the 7 Stars Tower's ultimate superpower. Using the power of the stars to form a sword light. Its power was so strong that it carried the power of the universe. When the sword slashed out, it was as if the universe had fallen directly. Countless people exclaimed in surprise. This sword was so powerful. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Han Chong did not move at all, as if he had no intention of dodging. Everyone was shocked. Was he going to take it head-on? They wondered what kind of superpower it was. Because all along, Han Chong had only used the ice blade, which could end the battle. Now it seemed that the other party had used another ultimate skill. Sure enough, the other party formed a seal with his palms, and a deep voice sounded between heaven and earth. "Chilly winter, thousand snowfall." As soon as this voice sounded, the terrifying power of ice and snow quickly spread out. Everyone felt that they were frozen again. This thousand snowfall directly swept out in all directions. The entire world was completely frozen. Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. They could only pray that this battle would end quickly. So powerful. Lin Xian was shocked. He felt the power of the ice and snow, and he also could not believe it. This ice and snow was a threat to his divine body. His body bloomed with light, blocking the ice. At the same time, he looked in front of him. In the next moment, he was stunned again. Before long, the ice and snow in front of him disappeared, and at the same time, two figures appeared. Han Chong was still standing there with his hands behind his back. On the other hand, Xinghe's face was pale. The 7-star sword that he had formed had disappeared. Not only that, but a layer of frost had also appeared on his body. It was obvious that he was at a disadvantage in the previous attack. Xinghe raised his head with difficulty, and his face became serious. He said, "You won this battle." As soon as these words came out, the surrounding people were shocked. No way. Now they could see that Xinghe was more powerful than the 5-element saint. Moreover, he could survive the 1,000 snowfall. Although his face was pale, he did not seem to be seriously injured. Such a person could definitely continue to fight. But why did he admit defeat directly? One should know that the more powerful a genius was, the more difficult it was for him to admit defeat. For a moment, everyone was discussing. Chapter 43-26. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he looked at the scene. The others might not know, but he could see it clearly. With his eye technique, he could see that there was a layer of frost on the other party's body. It should be an internal injury. Han Chong's ice law was really powerful. Han Chong kept the law that filled the sky. Then he muttered to himself, "Who should I look for next?" It seemed like the participants of the Tao discussion weren't that great. The others were shocked. He was too arrogant. He didn't even put the geniuses of the world in his eyes. However, he was really strong. Ordinary holy princes wouldn't be able to suppress him. Who else could it be? The people started to discuss. Xinghe's face turned ugly. He was also a top-notch genius, but he was being looked down upon at this moment. Don't be arrogant. I'm not the strongest in the Tao discussion. There are some who can definitely defeat you. Oh, is that so? Han Chong turned around and asked, "Who do you think it is?" The others were also stunned. They were also very curious. There are too many. I'll just say 2 young ones. Gu Feng from the Gu family is an emperor clan. He's an expert with the space law. Can you fight against him? The Gu family. As soon as he said that, the surrounding people exclaimed. They knew that he was from an emperor clan. The other party's space law was really mysterious. The Gu family? Han Chong narrowed his eyes. Then he asked again. Who was the second person? Xinghe gritted his teeth and said. The second person was called Lin Wudi. He was even stronger. Lin Wudi. Who is this person? Countless people exclaimed. He's stronger than the Gu family? He actually dared to use the word invincible as a title. Isn't he too arrogant? Han Chong frowned. Lin Wudi. He's really arrogant. Where is the person you're talking about? I'm very interested in him. How would I know? However, he's definitely in this world. Whether you can find him or not depends on your luck. However, I advise you not to look for him because you'll lose miserably. You don't have to worry about that. After saying that, Han Chong turned into a ray of light and disappeared from the world. Did he leave? The surrounding people exclaimed. He didn't know who the other party would challenge next. I'm guessing that he'll be able to sweep his way through. Those holy sons of the Holy Lands will probably have to accept his challenge. That's right. I wonder what happened to the 2 people he mentioned, and whether they can be found. When Xinghe heard these words, he shook his head. He did not expect that there would be such a mysterious expert. He prepared to return and recuperate. This was because he had indeed suffered internal injuries. But at this moment, he was taken aback because he saw a figure disappear from the crowd as well. It's him. Xinghe was really shocked. Although he only saw the back of the person, Xinghe recognized who it was. Lin Wudi was actually here as well. Was the other party really here to watch the battle? He wondered if Lin Wudi would do anything to that Han Chong. Lin Xian had no intention of attacking Han Chong. The most important thing now was to find the 9 Qilins. Finally, they arrived at the agreed-upon location. The 9-headed Qilin also came and took out a treasure box. There were 3 wills inside and one of the holy kings. Very good. Lin Xian accepted it with satisfaction. Then he said, You can go back first. If there's anything else, I'll inform you. Yes. The 9-headed Qilin respectfully left. Lin Xian was very happy, including the one in his hand. He now had 4 holy king wills. After giving one to the reincarnation protector, he could go to the buried emperor star. As for the remaining wills, he could cultivate and absorb them himself. He was not in a hurry to go back. He prepared to go to the Jade Lake. The Jade Lake was very lively at this moment. After all, the Kunlun Pavilion's people were here. Lin Xian's arrival made Murong Qingqing very happy. The Jade Lake's people also came out to welcome him. They knew that this was the Immortal Palace's palace master, the peerless genius of the Central Emperor realm. Lin Xian greeted the Jade Lake's elders, and then left with Murong Qingqing. They were taking a stroll near the Jade Lake. Lin Xian asked, "Did the Jade Lake have any challenges recently?" Murong Qingqing shook her head. Then she was surprised. Lin Xian said, "When I came, I saw a mysterious expert continuously challenging the sacred grounds. Moreover, he's very strong. Often, he could defeat a saint in one move. The saint, a young genius from the 7-star tower, had been injured by the other party in 2 moves. Is he that powerful?" Murong Qingqing was also surprised. "Do you know where he came from? Is he a new rising star in the true spirit world?" She did not know, but it did not seem like it. Lin Xian said that he knew about the Holy Heavens Tao debate. Clearly, his origin was extraordinary. If he comes to challenge the Jade Lake, tell the Jade Lake's people to be careful. Murong Qingqing nodded. "I know. I'll send people to investigate." Soon someone sent news. Indeed, there was a person called Han Chong who rarely came to the Jade Lake. However, he had not challenged the Jade Lake yet. Who was this person? Murong Qingqing decided to ask. She brought Lin Xian to see the Jade Lake sacred leader. The Jade Lake sacred leader was a middle-aged woman. After the great changes in the world, she had also broken through to the Sage realm. Moreover, some of the Jade Lake's foundations and living fossils had also started to awaken. It could be said that their foundations were very strong. When Murong Qingqing asked, the Jade Lake sacred leader's eyes flickered. He said, "We've heard about this matter too. I've analyzed it with the other grand elders. We think that he might be from a place where..." Lin Xian was also surprised. Could he be from the second astral realm? The second astral realm was incomparably vast. There might be some hidden geniuses who did not participate in the Tao debate, and came here instead. However, the Jade Lake sacred leader shook her head. "Young Master Lin, he's not from the second astral realm. We think that he might be from the heavenly abode." Heavenly abode? Murong Qingqing frowned. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. This was not the first time he had heard of this name. He had seen the people from the heavenly abode before. Those people were very arrogant. However, their strength and divine abilities were very strong. Back then, Lin Xian had been very curious about the heavenly abode. Now he had met the people from the heavenly abode again. He quickly asked, "Senior, what is the origin of this heavenly abode? Which starry sky is it in?" The Jade Lake sacred leader said that the heavenly abode was in the buried Emperor Star. He should be someone from the hidden Emperor Star. What? The buried Emperor Star? Lin Xian and Murong Qingqing sucked in a breath of cold air. That was their ultimate goal. They had not expected that someone from that world would come here directly. No wonder this guy was so strong. If he came from the buried Emperor Star, then it could be explained. Because in the universe, there were 2 special stars. Besides their primordial star, there was the buried Emperor Star. Primordial star was still recovering. As for the buried Emperor Star, it was probably a holy land for martial cultivators. The strength of that place was definitely unimaginable. However, what surprised Lin Xian was that someone from the buried Emperor Star could come here so easily. Chapter 43-27. The Jade Lake Sacred Master said. This matter was a little complicated. I'll simply say that the primordial star and the buried Emperor Star used to be the same world in the ancient era. However, they were later separated into 2 worlds. Thus, the connection between the 2 is not something that ordinary people can think of. The moment these words came out, Lin Xian was astonished as well. So it was a world? The Jade Lake sacred leader nodded. In a year, you will go to the buried Emperor Star. At that time, you will know that the sacred grounds and sects here also exist in the buried Emperor Star. It could even be said that they were of the same origin. However, due to certain reasons, they could not easily go to the buried Emperor Star. Of course, it would be easier for the people from the buried Emperor Star to go to the buried Emperor Star. It was impossible for just anyone to go there. They would have to pay a certain price. However, every time the sacred heavens discussed the Tao, The buried Emperor Star would send some disciples from the paradise to gain experience. This Han Chong should be one of the people who came to gain experience. Other than him, there might be other people. Lin Xian took a deep breath. So that was the case. He then asked, have those people who went to the buried Emperor Star returned? Have those sacred kings gone there? The Jade Lake sacred leader said that some sacred kings had gone there. Of course, there were also some who had not. Furthermore, the majority of those who had gone to the buried Emperor Star had not returned. Only a small portion of them were willing to return. Actually, Lin Xian understood this point. The buried Emperor Star was a place where the martial Dao was even more terrifying. Perhaps if they stayed there, they would be able to walk further on the martial Dao. Thus, those people had all chosen to stay there. Following this, Lin Xian asked a few more questions before leaving. He and Morong Qingqing left the main hall and walked outside. However, at this moment, a change occurred. The void suddenly split open, and a terrifying killing intent swept out in all directions. Sensing this aura, Lin Xian and Morong Qingqing's expressions changed. What a terrifying killing intent. Was the mortal world's killing sage here again? Damn it, the other party actually dared to make a move here? Lin Xian angrily shouted. The nine-yang divine body bloomed with light, forming a golden giant that enveloped him and Morong Qingqing. With a clang, the terrifying precepts bombarded the golden giant, emitting an earth-shattering sound. What was shocking was that this sword strike actually pierced through the golden giant. How terrifying. The killer saint that was sent out this time was even more terrifying. Damn it, Lin Xian was furious. Were these people still not giving up? To think that they would chase him all the way here. He punched out, causing the sky and earth in front of him to shatter. However, that figure was extremely terrifying. It flew out from another space and then saw the black hand and grabbed it. That hand was extremely terrifying. In the center of his palm, there was a black rune that looked like a black hole. It was bursting with an extremely cold and gloomy energy. Lin Xian coldly snorted and used the law of death to resist. On the other side, Morong Qingqing was also under attack. A killer sword pierced towards her glabella. An illusion of Kunlun Mountain appeared on her body and directly flew out. That killer sword was repelled. On the other side, Lin Xian also repelled the enemy. His eyes were emitting a cold light. In the sky, the heavenly secret divine eyes appeared and looked down. Qingqing, he's behind you. Lin Xian reminded. Morong Qingqing flipped her hand and used Kunlun Slash. The void shattered, and a figure instantly disappeared like lightning. Humph, how dare you come and kill us now? You're overestimating yourself. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with a biting cold killing intent. 10 precepts appeared around him, forming the 10 ultimate sword formation. It seemed that he was about to explode. On the other side, Morong Qingqing also formed the Kunlun Mountain and swept in all directions. However, at this moment, 2 figures appeared between heaven and earth. These 2 people were expressionless, but a hint of determination appeared in their eyes. They took out 2 killer swords and drew extremely terrifying patterns on them. Then they bloomed with incomparable light. Oh no, this is a forbidden weapon. Lin Xian was shocked. Did these 2 guys not want to live anymore? The 2 forbidden weapons exploded between heaven and earth. The 2 people's bodies were instantly torn apart, turning into a bloody mist. Under this power, nothing could withstand it. With a loud boom, the terrifying power enveloped Lin Xian and Morong Qingqing. This power was naturally shocking. The people in the distance were shocked. The people from Jade Lake instantly flew back. However, they did not dare to get close. Damn it, what's going on? Why is there a battle here? The people from Kunlun Pavilion also came out and frowned. The Jade Lake sacred leader came out personally and looked in all directions. This murderous intent was clearly a terrifying killer sage. The people from Kunlun Pavilion narrowed their eyes. The Kunlun sacred leader said, "Will Qingqing be in danger? This is the power of a forbidden weapon." Oh no! The 2 great sage kings attacked and directly tore through the void, sending the power into the spatial crack. In the next moment, they saw a pagoda floating in front of them, blocking everything. The pagoda disappeared, and Lin Xian and Morong Qingqing appeared. Both of their faces were extremely cold. If not for the Great Sage Pagoda, they would probably be in real danger now. The power of a forbidden weapon was not inferior to a Sage King's attack. At this moment, a sickle flew out from the void and directly split heaven and earth. Then the two figures fell to the ground. They were split in half, and their blood stained the ground. Lin Xian frowned. Is there someone else? These two people also had forbidden weapons on them. And a strange rune flashed between their eyebrows, hiding all their auras. Even Lin Xian hadn't been able to detect it. He felt a lingering fear. Who was the one who did it? He turned his head. An old man appeared in the sky. He was dressed in cotton clothes and held a sickle in his hand. The scythe was covered in rust. It was like a sickle used to farm in the fields. It was too ordinary, but the attack it unleashed was earth-shattering. Who is this old man? Lin Xian was shocked. The Jade Lake Holy Master and the Kunlun Holy King also looked over. After that, the two said, "Many thanks for helping." The gray-clad old man in the sky did not say anything. He even instantly disappeared. Lin Xian also looked at the sky and gave a cupped fist salute, thanking Senior for helping. Then he asked Senior Kunlun, "Who is this?" "The deity Dao Yunyan." The Kunlun Holy King said sullenly. When Lin Xian heard this, he was shocked as well. People from the deity Dao Yunyan? To think that they came here as well. Lin Xian felt danger. As the Sage Heavens Dao debate started, people from the mortal realm appeared one after another. Even the deity Dao Yunyan appeared. The Kunlun Holy King said that the deity Dao Yunyan was an extremely mysterious existence. They would protect some of the peak outstanding talents from being assassinated by the people of the mortal realm. At the same time, they would do their best to eliminate these killing sages in the mortal realm. Without the deity Dao Yunyan, the number of geniuses that died would be several times higher. Chapter 43:28. Naturally, Lin Xian was very clear on this point. Without the deity Dao Yunyan, he would probably have been killed already, right? Murong Qingqing's expression turned cold as well. What kind of existence is this mortal realm? Could it be that they are spread throughout the 10,000 realms? Qingqing, you are right. They are indeed spread throughout the 10,000 realms. Furthermore, they specifically seek out powerful geniuses to attack, especially those who will break through to Sage King. People who will break through to Sage King. Murong Qingqing sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian also frowned. Why is it like this? The Jade Lake Holy Master said that it was already pretty good for an ordinary world to have a sage. Even in the current 2-star realms, when the Sage Heavens discussed the Tao, the strongest were only Sage Kings. People above the Saint King realm would not appear. Lin Xian understood this point. Indeed, he had not seen many people above Sage Kings. However, Black Mountain was the remnant soul of the Great Sage, and could not be considered the true Great Sage. Hence, the birth of a new Sage King was a huge matter for these astral realms. Hence, some people did not wish for a new Sage King to appear. Or rather, they only wished for a Sage King to appear on their side. It would be best if the others did not have a Sage King. When Lin Xian heard this, he frowned. It looks like the mortal realm is actually plotting something shocking behind the scenes. The Kunlun Holy Master also said, "Indeed, we have investigated it before. However, after so many years, we have not been able to find out where the mortal realm is. What members do they have? However, based on our analysis, the mortal realm is not a fixed world. Even their members have many identities. Perhaps the people around you could also be people of the human world. As long as you wear the mask of the Sage Killer, it will be fine. The mortal realm is indeed mysterious. This way, we will not know who joined the mortal realm. Perhaps this is also why the mortal realm can exist for so many years without being destroyed." The Kunlun Holy Master said, "You should be targeted. Do you want to send some people to protect you?" Lin Xian said, "Many thanks, Senior. There is no need. These assassins are just rats in the dark. They are not worth mentioning." After that, Lin Xian prepared to go back. After bidding farewell to Murong Qingqing and the others, he soared into the air and left the Jade Lake. Then he flew all the way. His speed was extremely fast. However, 2 days later he still frowned. Through the heavenly fortune god eyes, he could feel a vague aura locking onto him. Needless to say, they should be people from the human world. Earlier, the deity Dao Yunyan had already come out. Yet the other party was still so reckless, daring to come and kill him. Furthermore, from the looks of it, this person should be a late-stage holy venerate. Come to think of it, he must be very powerful. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's lips curled into a cold smile. Since they wanted to kill him, he wouldn't hold back. Lin Xian slowed down and descended. It seemed like he wanted to rest. He pretended to let his guard down, and waited for his opponent to make a move. Sure enough, a terrifying bolt of thunder descended from the sky. The other party attacked him. However, Lin Xian had long since been prepared for this, and he instantly dodged. At the same time, he activated his heavenly fate divine eyes. Dang! A jade pendant in the air shattered. This assassin revealed a cold smile. He had long known that Lin Xian's soul was strong, so he had been defending. Indeed, the soul-protecting medallion that the assassin took out shattered. However, so what? The assassin believed that he could destroy the other party in one move. In the next moment, the assassin raised the saber in his hand. However, at this moment, Lin Xian took out a leaf and waved it gently. Immediately, the surroundings changed drastically. What's going on? The expression of this late-stage holy venerate assassin changed. The assassin felt an intense suppression on his soul. Damn it! Am I still caught in an illusion? How can this be? Didn't I already block the other party's eye technique? Lin Xian smiled coldly. Do you think that it is easy for you to kill me? Today, I will let you know what despair is. Oh no! This old man felt his hair stand on end. His figure flashed as he quickly retreated. At the same time, the assassin swung the saber in his hand, trying to escape. However, this was an illusion world. Where could the other party escape to? It was useless. Lin Xian formed hand seals, and a terrifying force sent the other party flying. In this place, I am the ruler. You cannot resist. Kneel down. With this command, that old man felt a pair of large hands pressing down on him from the air. He could not resist at all. Damn it! I was too careless. The assassin had not expected the other party to be so strong. Lin Xian landed, and a smile appeared on his face. I'll give you a choice. Tell me the secrets of your mortal world, and I'll give you a quick death. Brat, it's useless. You can forget about finding out anything from me. That old man smiled coldly. Just wait. The mortal world will be your nightmare for life. You will fall one day. After saying that, the old man looked up and laughed coldly. Lin Xian's expression sank. It looks like you are really reckless. Xiaochen formed a hand seal, and all sorts of terrifying soul attacks immediately charged over. That old man roared non-stop. Do you think that I can't do anything if you don't tell me? Lin Xian's gaze was cold as it enveloped the other party. Collecting information from souls was not a difficult task for him. However, that old man roared at the sky. Lin Xian frowned. In the next moment, he put away the dream leaf and retreated into the distance. That old man's body suddenly split open, and an extremely terrifying destructive force swept out in all directions. This power was no different from using a forbidden weapon. When the energy disappeared, Lin Xian landed on the ground again. He looked around and found that there was nothing left. Suddenly he snorted coldly. Just now, it was not the other party who used a forbidden weapon, but he probed into the other party's soul to find out the secrets. In the end, he found that there was a seal in the other party's soul. It should be the seal left behind by the even more terrifying sage ruler in the mortal world. It sealed all the secrets of the mortal world. Lin Xian forcefully probed, which was why the energy just now happened. There were indeed many tricks in the mortal world. Lin Xian snorted coldly. It seemed that it would be impossible to find out the identities of these people. His figure flashed, and he was ready to leave. In the next moment, his body trembled because he felt that there was some poison in his body that seemed to be sealing his power. Was he poisoned? When? Lin Xian was surprised. In the next moment, he hurriedly activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul. At the same time, a golden light appeared in his eyes and swept in all directions. Sure enough, he saw 5 more figures walking towards them. Lin Wudi was indeed strong. No wonder he could kill so many of them. However, no matter how strong he was, he would definitely die today. Let's see how you can escape after being poisoned by me. A figure appeared. He was also wearing a cold mask, and it was impossible to tell who he was. Chapter 43-29. Lin Xian sneered in his heart. He had to admit that the poison used by the other party was very terrifying. Those below the sage ruler realm could not withstand it at all. However, he was an exception. The great dragon sword soul had already annihilated everything inside. Therefore, he was completely fine now. However, he did not attack immediately. Instead, he pretended to be injured and poisoned and said, "Damn it, when did you poison me? Fine, I'll let you die quickly." The black-robed man sneered. "When the energy exploded just now, we already poisoned you, so you won't be far from death." Hearing this, Lin Xian was also surprised. He really did not notice that at that time, he was only focused on avoiding the energy. Who would have thought that there was poison in the air? There were indeed many tricks in the human world. If it were other late-stage sage venerables, they would have probably gone to hell by now. "Alright kid, you've said so much. It's time to send you on your way." The black-robed man pulled out his long sword and walked over. There was a biting cold murderous intent in his eyes. In the next moment, he suddenly slashed out with his sword. Suddenly, a sharp murderous intent appeared between heaven and earth and slashed fiercely toward Lin Xian. Facing such a terrifying attack, the poisoned person could not dodge at all. However, Lin Xian suddenly raised his head, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. In the next moment, he formed a hand seal with his palm and slapped out with the man-ruler seal. Boom! An earth-shattering sound was heard, and the black-robed man was directly sent flying. His body was torn into pieces, and his eyes were wide open. How was that possible? His face was full of disbelief. Did the other party have such powerful strength? Could it be that the other party was not poisoned? Damn it! The four around him were also stunned. What was going on? They looked at each other. Lin Xian stood up. "You're the ones who should go to hell." He waved his hand, and another man-ruler seal slapped out, killing the black-robed man directly. Boom! The black-robed man did not even have time to make a sound before his astral soul was destroyed. When the four sage killers saw this scene, their faces turned cold. However, they did not dodge. Instead, they roared angrily and directly charged over. Spirit Extermination Array. The four of them formed a formation. With a violent and destructive power, they rushed towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a stomp of his foot, he charged out like a god of war. When the attacks landed on his body, they produced thunderous sounds. However, it was unable to break through his defense. He came to the front and slammed out his man-ruler seal once again. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. 4 people were blasted back, and one of them was directly blasted apart. Lin Xian used the 10 absolute swords and slashed out. The other person was cleaved in half, and blood filled the sky. At this moment, Lin Xian was like the god of death, extremely powerful. The faces of the people around him turned extremely ugly. Damn it! How could his opponent be so strong? Use poison! One of them roared and immediately took out a black bottle. Terrifying poisonous gas flew out from it. This poisonous gas was transparent. It could not be seen at all. In fact, it could not even be sensed. Previously, it was because of this that Lin Xian was poisoned. However, he was already prepared for it. Dragon-shaped sword qi revolved around his body, forming an armor-like defense that blocked all the poison. As for Lin Xian, he swung the Tiger Demon Fist. Army Destroyer. With a punch, he could sweep away 1,000 soldiers. Of the 4 sage killers, 2 were instantly killed. The other 2 were also in an extremely sorry state. Run quickly. They knew that their opponent was too strong. With such terrifying poison, a late-stage holy venerate would not be able to resist it. However, their opponent was fine. This made them realize that it was impossible to kill him today. Therefore, the 2 of them quickly fled. "You want to leave now?" Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, 2 thunder dragons flew out. They extended for hundreds of thousands of miles, and directly covered a part of the sky. Damn it! One of them took out a forbidden artifact and directly tore it apart. Terrifying energy rumbled and swept towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian's figure flashed and he vanished. He used the void escape technique. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the 2 people. He swung the 10 absolute swords and the 2 heads flew up. Damn it! The souls of the 2 assassins flew out, burning continuously. "Brat, let's die together." Evil Spirit Song. The two people's souls roared in different directions in the sky, turning into a strange sound. Space and time tore apart, and a black great Tao danced around like musical notes. Lin Xian felt a chill run down his spine. He quickly retreated, his complexion even paling. His soul was suppressed. In the next moment, Xiaochen snorted coldly and activated his heavenly secret divine eye. His heavenly secret divine soul clashed with those black talisman scripts, creating extremely terrifying cracks. How terrifying! These people actually grasped such a magic skill? Lin Xian's expression turned cold. He could tell that this was a magic skill that would bring the enemy down together. It used one's own soul as the price to form an extremely terrifying sound of destruction. This way, the person who was killed would not be able to revive himself. In fact, he would vanish into thin air, unable to even enter the cycle of reincarnation. These people in the human world were really ruthless. Xiaochen snorted coldly. These people had used special methods, so he would not hold back. In an instant he took out the great spear of destruction, and the demonic chi on it erupted. It swept across the area. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into a peerless demon god. With a single strike, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. Oh no, it's the weapon of a saint king. The souls of the two people were already very weak at this moment. Seeing this scene, a cold killing intent appeared in their eyes. Then, the remaining souls completely dissipated between heaven and earth. It formed a black bell that kept ringing. It flew down and collided with the great spear of destruction. It destroyed everything. Lin Xian roared and attacked with all his might. In the end, he shattered the black bell. However, Lin Xian was also affected. Even though his soul was powerful, this extremely terrifying method still injured him. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely cold as he looked around. When he realized that there was no one around, he left. When he returned to the Immortal Palace, the people of the Immortal Palace exclaimed, "Palace Master, are you injured?" They were really shocked. Who was it? Their eyes shone with a piercing cold light. It's fine. It's just some assassins. I've already taken care of them. Prepare a secret chamber for me. I'm going to go into seclusion. After Lin Xian entered the secret chamber, he sat down and started healing his injuries. After he was done, Peacock walked up and said, "Palace Master, the old Palace Master is looking for you." After hearing this, Lin Xian let out a look of surprise. The old Palace Master? That was Xiaojuyo. Was he already back? One must know that Lin Xian knew that this old man's strength was extremely terrifying. It was at an unimaginable level. Chapter 43:30. The place where the Immortal Palace was located was very big and boundless. They passed through countless palaces. After crossing mountains and rivers, they finally arrived at a quiet valley. There was an old man inside. He was pruning some spirit fruits. At this moment, he sensed that someone had arrived and turned his head. Lin Xian and Peacock stopped outside the valley. Peacock said, "Palace Master, the old Palace Master is inside. I'll be outside. If you need anything, just call me." After saying that, he stood to the side. Lin Xian nodded and walked in. In the valley, Xiaojuyo smiled and said, "You're here." Lin Xian looked at him, and found that he was even older than before. He asked, "Old Xia, is your body okay?" "Don't worry, I'm old and not as strong as before. However, I won't die for a while." Xiaojuyo smiled. "I heard that you had a big battle with someone." Lin Xian nodded and said, "The people of the human realm are haunting me and have been trying to assassinate me." Hearing about the human realm, Xiaojuyo's eyes flickered and he said, "Be careful. Be careful, the human realm has been very active recently. Moreover, I'm guessing that before the buried Emperor Star opens, before the opening time, they should be doing something even bigger. Perhaps they're targeting you." "Old Xia, do you know what secrets the human realm has?" Lin Xian felt that the old man in front of him should know. However, Xiaojuyo sighed. "I do know a little, but I can't tell you. I can only say that you have to be careful. There are some things that you should know when you reach the buried Emperor Star." "All right." Lin Xian nodded. Xiaojuyo said, "Right, I heard that you've been abandoned by the immortals." Lin Xian nodded again. "Yes, I'm abandoned by the immortals, but I still control the Immortal Palace. It's really ironic. Xia Jiuyo said. Actually, the situation isn't like what you think. The reason why the Immortal Palace is called Immortal Palace is because it was decided back then. I've been using it all these years. However, I feel that it's time to change it. How about we change it to Divine Palace? Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. Change the name. Immortal Palace, Divine Palace. Although there was only a difference of one word, the meaning behind it was extraordinary. For example, he was a person who had been abandoned by immortals, but there were Taoists who were helping him. This matter is settled. Announce it when you go out. From now on, you are the temple master of the temple. Lin Xian asked more about his father Lin Zhan and Lord Jiu. In the end, he found out that these people had already left for the buried Emperor Star. Even Xia Jiuyo would be going there in the future. After chatting for about half a day, Lin Xian left. He could sense that Xia Jiuyo's condition wasn't very good. Clearly, he had expended quite a bit of energy earlier. 3 days later, Lin Xian received a message. The valley that Xia Jiuyo was in required a large amount of top-grade divine crystals. It seemed like this old senior wanted to use the divine crystal to seal him. Could it be that it had already reached such a stage? Lin Xian was also nervous. She was going to handle this matter personally. Xia Jiuyo said, "Don't worry, little fellow. I can still hold on. However, I do need to sleep for a period of time. These divine crystals are enough for me." The boundless divine crystals were like ice and snow as they sealed his body. They provided him with a large amount of vitality and power. Lin Xian took out 2 interspatial rings. Inside them were the spirit fruits he had obtained in the ancient battlefield. These spirit fruits had matured for who knew how many tens of thousands of years. They also contained a large amount of vitality. Thus, he left them behind for Xia Jiuyo. Then he left the valley. He returned to the Dao Immortal Palace and announced that the Dao Immortal Palace had become a temple master. In an instant, countless people were in an uproar. When the Jade Lake Sacred Master and the others heard this, their eyes also flickered. In the following period of time, it was even more unpeaceful. There were several new rising geniuses that swept through the place and challenged the experts and saints of the various places. In an instant, the world was shaken. At the same time, several experts appeared in the various great sage lands to visit them. These new rising geniuses should have come from the buried Emperor Star to gain experience. As for the people who visited them, they should be the sacred kings and sacred sovereigns that had come from the second astral realm to participate in the Tao debate. However, on this day there was a shocking piece of news. It turned out that a great battle had occurred in the eastern wilderness, and it had directly alarmed everyone. This was because this was a great battle between sacred kings. Sacred kings were existences that stood at the peak of the world. No one could be stronger than a sacred king. Thus, a battle between sacred kings naturally alarmed countless people. However, a battle of this level was too powerful. When the two of them attacked, countless mountains and rivers were shattered. Thus, the two of them directly came to the starry sky and engaged in a great battle. The others could not see clearly at all. They could only feel the powerful energy coming from the 9 heavens. At this moment, countless sacred lands were incomparably shocked. Was this the aura of a sacred king? They sucked in a cold breath. Although the true spirit world was rapidly recovering, and everyone's strength had increased greatly, many people had even broken through to become saints. However, not every sacred land had a sacred king. Only a few sacred lands and monarch clans that had been passed down from the ancient times existed. These saint kings were also sealed from the divine crystals. Thus, under normal circumstances, they would not consume their energy. Thus, in this battle, they did not participate. They only watched. Lin Xian was cultivating in the Immortal Palace. On this day, Peacock walked over quickly. He knelt on one knee and said, "Palace Master, something bad has happened." Lin Xian opened his eyes and asked, "What is it?" Peacock said that he had received news that a great battle between sacred kings had broken out in the eastern wilderness. The two sides of the battle were Peerless Sacred King and Silver Corpse Sacred King. What? Lin Xian stood up abruptly. Senior brother and the Acheron Hall had started a battle? His expression became extremely ugly, because he knew that the Acheron Hall was despicable and shameless. Since they had started a battle, it would not be just Silver Corpse Sacred King. Would the others also join in? His expression became incomparably cold. Go, prepare the spatial array. We are going to be transported directly to the eastern wilderness. Peacock quickly got to work. On the other hand, Lin Xian informed Ling Huchueshua, Fu Hongye, and the others. These people gathered together and asked, "Young Uncle Master, what happened?" Lin Xian said that senior brother and Silver Corpse Sacred King had a great battle in the eastern wilderness. I'm worried that the situation has changed. I'll go and take a look. All of you should stay here. No, we're going, Ling Huchueshua said. The others also nodded. How could they stay here when something like this happened? Xian frowned. He said that a great battle between sacred kings would be very dangerous. I'm afraid that they would be affected. Ling Hu said, "Young Uncle Master, don't worry. They usually don't attack young people. The previous time they attacked you was a sneak attack. As for the others, they did not know. This time, so many sacred kings had descended to this world. They did not have the courage to do so." Chapter 43:31. Fu Hongye agreed. Indeed, if a sage king disregarded the rules, he would be opposed by the other sage cities. After all, every sage city had a large number of disciples. If a sage king were to attack the younger generation, the sage city would probably cease to exist. All right. Lin Xian nodded. Follow me to the teleportation portal. They were teleported to the eastern wilderness. After arriving at the eastern wilderness, they could feel that the entire eastern wilderness was enveloped by a powerful energy. It came from the 9 heavens. It was obvious that the two sides were fighting in the starry sky. They could feel the terrifying aura coming from the sky. Lin Xian and the others' faces were unusually cold. Had the battle already begun? They looked up and saw that the sky of the eastern wilderness was covered by the yellow spring. On the other side, there was endless sword chi. Was this the attack of a sage king? It was too powerful. Lin Xian and the others were shocked. Even if they were standing on the ground, they could not get any closer. It seemed that they could only watch the battle from here. Lin Xian used his heavenly secret divine eyes. It formed a terrifying heavenly secret divine eye that could see through everything. He projected what he saw into the void in front of him for everyone to see. Lin Xian was shocked. A battle between sage kings was too terrifying. Sage King Silver Corpse activated the yellow spring gourd and shot out a beam of light. A destructive force burst out and swept across the surroundings. The starry sky outside the region was instantly shattered. Endless cracks appeared. Even the nearby stars were shattered. Sage King Unparalleled waved his unparalleled sword and shot out a shocking sword chi. It was as if there were worlds pressing down on them. They kept colliding with the yellow spring Tao diagram. Every hit was able to destroy a world. Sage King Wu. Lin Xian also had chi. He had also fought with those young people before. They were all sage kings. A battle between chi. However, compared to a sage king, their battle was pitifully weak. This kind of chi could only be unleashed in the hands of a true sage king. Both sides fought fiercely. At this moment, endless black runes appeared on Sage King Unparalleled's body. They swept out in all directions and devoured everything. The yellow spring Tao diagram was devoured. Another wave of sharp sword light rushed over. Ling Huchueshua and the others cried out in surprise. Were they going to win? However, at that moment, a long saber descended from the sky and smashed the sword apart. As a result, the sword slashed down into the void and split a star in half. Desolate blade was from the great desolate mansion. Shangguan Xiaoxian exclaimed. Lin Xian's face darkened. It seemed like Saint King Huang Tian had made his move. Damn it! Ling Huchueshua and the others shouted angrily. However, it was useless. The Saint Kings fighting in the outer realm couldn't hear them. Even if they did, the Silver Corpse Saint King wouldn't care. I didn't expect you to be so powerful to be able to suppress the Yellow Springs Tao diagram. But now that there are two of us, do you think you can still survive? The flat Silver Corpse Saint King smiled coldly. On the other side, Desolate Heaven Saint King walked over and blocked Peerless Saint King's path. Today is the day you die. The desolate blade in his hand exploded with an incomparably terrifying aura. Just the two of you? Overconfident. Peerless Saint King roared into the sky. The devouring law on his body exploded once again, and a terrifying black vortex swept towards Saint King Huang Tian. At the same time, he slashed his sword towards desolate heaven's Saint King. It seemed like peerless Saint King was going to take on the two great sage kings alone. How arrogant! How reckless! The two great sage kings were no weaker than peerless Saint King. Even if the two of them joined forces, they still couldn't kill each other. The silver corpse Saint King emitted an unparalleled radiance. His physique was also extremely strong. His entire body seemed to have turned into a sharp sword, and split the void to resist the devouring vortex. On the other side, desolate heaven Saint King soared into the sky and slashed the desolate blade in his hand. The desolate blade continued to grow in size, as if it had turned into a long rainbow that was 10,000 zhang long. It pressed down from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Peerless sword chi danced and swept across the 9 heavens. It broke through everything and blocked the desolate blade. The two of them clashed in the sky and countless Dao laws shot out in all directions. The entire starry sky was completely destroyed. An intense battle broke out. Above the 9 heavens, all sorts of Dao laws circled around and swallowed everything. This happened in the extraterritorial starry sky. Otherwise, even in a special world like planet Xiwan in the eastern wilderness, mountains and rivers would have been destroyed. Boom. The water of the yellow springs surged endlessly. It was as if the yellow springs had been painted into hell. Countless netherworld puppets walked out from inside, forming a terrifying netherworld army that charged towards peerless Saint King. Peerless Saint King snorted. Countless devouring light surrounded him and swallowed the yellow spring army. At that moment, the starlight between the heavens and the earth disappeared. However, the yellow spring army that had been swallowed appeared again, and this time, a yellow spring figure appeared. This figure was not simple. It was the yellow spring Saint King who had spent thousands of years nurturing it. The cold and gloomy aura that he carried was terrifying. With a roar, the figure soared into the sky and charged towards peerless Saint King. Peerless Saint King snorted. He flipped his hand and took out a treasure bottle. He poured out a few drops of blood-red light. He placed it on his palm and slapped it out. Boom! The slap landed on the yellow spring figure and caused it to roar crazily. The yellow spring figure was originally so powerful that even Saint Kings were shocked. However, under the attack of the blood-red palm, black smoke rose from its body and the remaining figure quickly melted. It seemed to be greatly restrained. Damn it! Is that the blood of the sun? Saint King Silver Corpse's face turned ugly. He had spent 5,000 years to condense this yellow spring figure. It was extremely cold and gloomy and could destroy everything. However, its greatest nemesis was the power of the sun. However, it was very difficult to find such a thing. Even Lin Xian's 9-yang divine body could not do it because it was not mature enough. However, he did not expect that. Peerless Saint King had such a thing in his hands. It was able to restrain his yellow spring figure with just one attack. At the same time, the devouring vortex flew out again. On the other side, peerless Saint King charged towards Saint King Desolate Heaven. Saint King Desolate Heaven roared. Countless canyons appeared behind him. Figures appeared in the canyons one after another. Desolate summoning. It was extremely powerful in the hands of Saint King Desolate Heaven. The figures that he summoned were much stronger than the other geniuses. Moreover, the number of them made one's scalp tingle. These figures that appeared between the heavens and earth brandished their terrifying ultimate skills as they charged forward at high speed. Humph! Peerless Saint King snorted and slashed with his unparalleled sword. A terrifying light lit up the entire sky. Then, the figures that were summoned were shattered. They turned into ashes. Peerless Saint King was not at a disadvantage even when he was fighting against two opponents. It was shocking. Some of the Saint Kings who were watching the battle were stunned. The law of devour was simply too powerful. Lin Xian and the others were also shocked. They heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like the situation was still favorable for them. If this continued, peerless Saint King would not be in any danger. However, as soon as they finished speaking, their pupils shrank. A ray of light flew out from the sky and sent peerless Saint King flying. Chapter 43-32. The sudden change stunned Lin Xian and the rest. Ling Hu Chuexue and the rest exclaimed. What happened? Why was their master injured? They were really too surprised. This shouldn't be happening. Suddenly, Lin Xian's eyes narrowed. Oh no, another Sage King has joined the battle. What? Fu Hongya and the rest's faces darkened. A third Sage King has joined the fray? Damn it, who is it? Through the light screen in front of them, they saw a figure. It was a figure standing in the 9 heavens. The sword chi on his body was unparalleled. It was the Sword King of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion, the Ghost Deity Sword King. Many people's faces darkened. Emph. The Silver Corpse Sage King sneered. Wushuang, do you still have the right to resist? The 3 of us great Sage Kings are attacking together. You'll die for sure. Wushuang Sage King walked out of the void. There was a sword mark on his body. It was disappearing quickly. The boundless law of devouring devoured the sword scar directly. His face was pale, but his eyes were cold. Let's do it and get rid of him. The Ghost Deity Sword King said coldly. Then he waved the Ghost Deity sword in his hand, unleashing a terrifying sword chi. The sword chi was too cold. It was enough to destroy everything. At the same time, the Silver Corpse Sage King and the Desolate Heaven Sage King worked together and attacked Wushuang Sage King. Boom. The Desolate Heaven Sage King roared and summoned the canyon, enveloping Wushuang Sage King. At the same time, a terrifying destructive chi surged, trying to suppress Wushuang Sage King. Wushuang Sage King roared. Devour. His Devour Law continued to surge and absorb the dark chi. The black vortex grew bigger and bigger. In the end, the entire desolate canyon was swallowed. At the same time, Wushuang Sage King roared and slashed the sky. He flew into the distance. Damn it! The Desolate Heaven Sage King spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. The Silver Corpse Sage King said, "Chase after him." This time his soul would be destroyed. The 3 figures turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the starry sky. Not good. Linghu Chueshua and the others were astonished when they couldn't see it anymore. Xian also shook his head and sighed. Even his heavenly fate divine eyes couldn't detect anything. Even the other saint rulers who were watching in the dark sucked in a deep breath. They had no idea how the battle was going. While Linghu Chueshua was worried, the sky suddenly shattered. Countless terrifying auras of desolation descended and enveloped them. Instantly, the expressions of Linghu Chueshua and the others changed. The reason for that was because that aura was simply too frightening. He had surpassed the Saint Venerable. This was the aura of a Saint King. A Saint King had attacked them. Damn it, who is it? Lin Xian's eyes also burst with a piercing light as he punched the void. Countless laws of desolation filled the air. A figure suddenly appeared above the 9 heavens. It's you. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He discovered that the one who had come out was Saint King Desolate Heaven. The other party revealed a cold smile. Damn it, do you dare to attack us? Fu Hongye roared. Don't forget the rules of the Saint King. If you dare to make a move, you will be punished by all the Saint Kings. Linghu Chueshua also said coldly. Saint King Desolate Heaven sneered. A bunch of ants, do you dare to go against me? I can destroy all of you with a wave of my hand. And you? Do you think that Wushuang City will still exist after today? Don't be naive. Today, Saint King Wushuang will definitely die. Once he dies, your holy city will also be reduced to ashes. Do you think that someone will stand up for you for a saint city that will soon cease to exist? Is that so? Then you can try. I can guarantee that you will end up in a miserable state if you make a move now. Lin Xian walked out at this moment and said coldly, It's you again. Saint King Desolate Heaven stared at Lin Xian. An extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Suddenly, the void around Lin Xian began to shatter. Those people also felt as if they were facing a great enemy. Lin Xian waved his hand and took out the Great Destruction Spear, blocking in front of him. The terrifying demonic aura blocked the Saint King's killing intent. Kid, you dare to provoke me when you are about to die? But that's fine too. I will let you die willingly. When we bring Saint King Wushuang's head to you, I want to see if you can continue to be so arrogant. Saint King Desolate Heaven sneered and disappeared into the sky. Did he leave? Lu Yuan Yurua and the others could not believe it. Lin Xian's face was cold. Although Saint King Wushuang was no longer around, he had deity's Templar behind him. Moreover, Jade Lake's Sacred Master and Kunlun's Sacred King would definitely make a move on Murong Qingqing's side. Saint King Desolate Heaven was probably afraid of this. That was why he did not make a move immediately. However, if Saint King Wushuang really died, then the situation would be different. He was afraid that those people would turn Wushuang City into ashes and smoke. In the next few days, Lin Xian asked the people from Deity's Templar to quickly gather information. Even the other sacred grounds and sects started to take action. After all, if a Saint King really died, the impact would be too great. However, they did not get any information. Those people seemed to have come to the distant starry sky to fight. For the time being, they did not get any information. However, some people thought that Saint King Wushuang was dead for sure. No matter how strong he was and how he could fight against two, it was impossible for him to fight against three. Even if he could escape now, it would not be long before he was killed. Moreover, it seemed that those sacred cities were really prepared to make a move. Lin Xian quickly asked Ling Hu Chuexue and the others to return to Deity's Templar. For the time being, they were safe. However, the news that came made his face turn cold. It seemed that those people had sent the news back to the two astral realm. If that was the case, then it would be really troublesome. Would those sacred cities attack Wushuang City in the second astral realm? Young martial uncle, I want to leave. Ling Hu Chuexue found Lin Xian and said that he wanted to return to the second astral realm. What can you do when you return? Lin Xian asked with a frown. Ling Hu Chuexue said that our foundation is in Wushuang City. There are countless elders and disciples there. I have to inform them quickly. Even if something happens to Master, I can't let Wushuang City fall. Lin Xian's face turned cold as well. He said that he would return as well. He was also a member of Wushuang City. They had to do it personally. To be honest, he could invite other Saint Kings. However, those Saint Kings could only help them for a while, but could they help them forever? As long as there was no news of Saint King Wushuang, Wushuang City would be in danger. If that was the case, then Wushuang City would have to go into hiding. Damn it, he would definitely get his revenge. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. Great Desolate Mansion, Acheron Hall, and Wanjian Pavilion. He would not let any of them go. These people were moving quickly. Chapter 43-33. Fortunately, the deity's hall had a strong foundation. Hence, they were able to teleport directly. Lin Xian was also a powerful array master. Hence, when they were teleported out of the starry sky, Lin Xian took charge. He used the power of the stars to form a spatial array. These spatial arrays had been set up in the deity's hall a long time ago. Some of them had been passed down from the deity's hall since the ancient times. Now that he had taken them out, he only needed to provide them with sufficient power. And these powers were either provided by the universe or by the power of some star worlds. In short, these people used the teleportation array to teleport back to the second astral boundary. In the second astral boundary, everyone was waiting. They wanted to know how the third stage of the Tao discussion went. However, after waiting for a long time, they received a piece of news. The unparalleled Sage King had fallen. When the news came out, all the sects and clans in the second astral boundary were stunned. What was going on? They knew that all the Sage Kings of the holy cities had left together with the geniuses and experts to participate in the third stage. However, before the news of the third stage spread, the news of the Sage King's death came out. The people of Unparalleled City naturally received the news too. They were dumbfounded. How could this be? Their Sage King had fallen? Damn it, they didn't believe it. In an instant, they hurried out to investigate. However, the entire second astral boundary was talking about this matter. They couldn't help but wonder what had happened. Shirbufan, Water Sky City, Wang Xiaofeng and the others were going crazy. The elders' faces were gloomy. Among them, the great elder said, "Everyone come back. Don't act rashly. The current situation is very disadvantageous for us." Hence, they didn't go out. They activated the array and Unparalleled City entered a defensive state. On the other side, Acheron Hall, Great Desolate Mansion, Myriad Sword Pavilion, and the other three great sage cities received the news and quickly prepared. They gathered their strength and prepared to launch a shocking attack. On this day, the laws in the void fluctuated and a huge spatial array appeared. 10 figures appeared on it. They were Lin Xian and the others. After Lin Xian and the others returned, they immediately flew towards Unparalleled City. Wushuang City was already glowing brightly, defending against everything. As they flew, they heard all sorts of news. As expected, those sacred cities were going to make a move against Peerless City. However, it would appear that they had arrived quite early. If he had been any later, the war would have already begun. Linghu Chueshua said, "It's us. Open the door quickly." The people in Peerless Sacred City were also stunned. It was Linghu Chueshua and the others. Have they returned? Quickly open the formation. The elders gave the order one after another. Immediately, a crack appeared in the countless spirit formations. Linghu Chueshua and the others directly flew into the crack. "It's really you." After they entered, the formation closed up again. Then the elders and disciples walked up. What happened to senior brother Linghu? Was it true that a saint king had fallen? Impossible, I don't believe it. The disciples asked nervously. Even the elders were frowning. What was going on with Chueshua? Linghu Chueshua's face was gloomy and cold. He said that our group was going to participate in the third stage. The third stage was on the legendary planet Primordial. After we landed, we passed the third stage. However, after the third stage, Acheron Hall's Silver Corpse Saint King, Great Desolate Mansion's Desolate Heaven Saint King, and Myriad Swords Pavilion's Ghost Deity Saint King, the three great sage kings attacked their master. Now their master had entered the universe and his whereabouts were unknown. What? The people from Peerless Sacred City were stunned when they heard this. How could this be? They couldn't believe it. Their Saint King was being hunted down by three great sage kings. They were afraid that he would be in danger. No wonder there were rumors that Peerless Saint King had fallen. Impossible, a Saint King was unparalleled. It was impossible for him to fall. An elder said. Another elder also said that the Saint King's body hadn't been seen yet. It meant that the Saint King might have escaped. There was a glimmer of hope in these people's eyes. However, Linghu Chueshua did say that it was true. We naturally hope so too. However, I think that Acheron Hall, Great Desolate Mansion, and Myriad Swords Pavilion, the three great sage cities, should be preparing to attack. They wanted Peerless Sacred City to be completely destroyed. Damn it. The elders and disciples were all stunned. Let's go all out. Yes, let's kill them. These people's eyes were red. Did they think that Peerless Sacred City was easy to bully? However, Linghu Chueshua said, "No, we've discussed this matter. Young Uncle Master, you say it." Linghu Chueshua and the others looked at Lin Xian. The others were stunned. Young Uncle Master? What was going on? Wasn't Lin Xian the chief disciple of the third generation? Linghu Chueshua said that Lin Xian was the Saint King's junior brother and their Uncle Master. When these words came out, everyone was shocked. The elders were also stunned. Was it true? Lin Xian walked out and nodded. That's right, Peerless Saint King is indeed my senior brother. Me too. Not long after that. If that's the case, then I'm afraid that young Master Lin will have to take charge of the situation. The other elders also turned to look at him. The other disciples also came over. Although Lin Xian was young, Lin Wudi's reputation had long been known in the two astral realms. So they all asked, "Young Uncle Master Lin, what should we do?" Lin Xian's gaze swept across the area as he spoke. Senior brother is now being hunted by someone. The situation is not good. Peerless Sacred City will soon be attacked by the three great sage cities. Moreover, I'm guessing that Demon City and Thunder God City will also add insult to injury. So we're in great danger. I have two ideas now. First, we definitely can't fight them head-on. So, I've decided to seal Peerless Sacred City and completely hide it until the Saint King returns. When these words came out, everyone exclaimed. Lin Xian continued. Of course, the duration of this seal is not certain. It could be 500 years, 1,000 years, or even a few thousand years. So, I plan to let a group of people come out and scatter them all over the second astral realm. First, they'll be responsible for gathering information. Second, they can hide their identities and cultivate. This way, if the Saint King returns, he can immediately communicate with Peerless Sacred City. I agree with young Uncle Master. Linghu Chueshua walked up. Fu Hongya also said, And I also agree. Shangguan Shaoxian and the others also nodded. They had discussed this matter before, and this was the best way for now. The disciples gritted their teeth and were unwilling to give up. The elders also clenched their fists. They said, "Damn it, but I agree with Uncle Master Lin. We also think that this is the best way for now." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.